welcome back, everyone. And may I welcome Senator the Honourable McCarthy, Minister McCarthy. Great to have you here, Melanie.
Thank you, Chair. Good to be here.
And questions, Senator Canavan? Senator
Okay, all right. So look, I've just got some questions on the Urban Precincts and Partnerships Program.
Just get the right people at the table.
Thank you. Just asking some questions about applications that I think were submitted in January and February of this year. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay, and is it my understanding that they won't be assessed until January and June next year?
So for the Urban Precincts, Erin Cassie, Assistant Secretary, Partnership Programs Branch. Senator, can I just check your...
Yeah, sorry, you might not have heard me when you were coming to the table. These are all about the Urban Precincts and Partnerships Program.
The Urban Precincts applications which were submitted in January and February this year were assessed as part of Batch 2, which are currently being announced, and we expect to be letting unsuccessful applicants know in the coming weeks.
Okay, so not next year?
No.
Because the answer to the question on notice from supplementary budget estimates only in October, it said that, and I'm quoting from question number 82, that applications submitted from January to 17th of October 2025 will be assessed in Batch 3, expected to occur in the first half of 26. So has that been accelerated, has it?
No, Senator Lisa Rowder, First Assistant Secretary, Partnerships and Projects. Batch 2, that Ms Cassie just mentioned, was applications received between the 15th of November and the 28th of April 2025. So any applications received after the 28th of April 2025 will be assessed in the first half of next year.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, presumably, I think you said November. That would have been November 24, was it?
2024.
Yes. Okay. But have you got the 82 in front of you? Has anyone got that?
No.
I don't have 82.
Okay.
But
It says actually to the question at 82, it says applicants submitted up to December 2024 have been assessed. That was in October.
Up to 2024,
Yep.
yes, that would be correct.
That was true as of October.
Yes.
And then it goes on to say, as I said earlier, applications submitted from January to 17th of October 2025, which would have been presumably the date of this question, I think, will be assessed in Batch 3, expected to occur in the first half of 26. So I'm just trying to square that with your comment that, no, actually, applications received up to April will be announced soon. I'm just trying to see something changed in the last couple of months.
In Batch 2, we did 64 applications, so we did a larger batch than what we have done previously. So Batch 1, for example, was only 20 applications. So Batch 2, we did 64. And so we were able to include more applications in that batch. 15 of those 64 were not eligible, so there was 49 that were eligible, and yes, that was up to 28 April 2025.
Maybe I'm happy if you take it on notice. It's not the world's biggest scandal, but could you just have a look at the 82 answer? I'm not sure if there's something wrong with that answer or something changed between October and today, and perhaps you decided to accelerate things quicker than expected. So, as it stands, though, applications received after April will be assessed early next year, or the first half of next year.
After 28 April 2025 will be assessed early, or in the first half of next year.
Yeah, up to April, they've been assessed.
Yep.
Okay. Still does seem like a bit of a delay for people who submitted in January this year, not getting an answer to December. Is that kind of normal? Or?
No, it's not. We have had a very large volume of applications, and we also have independent assessment panels, and sometimes it takes some time to get those independent assessors all available to go through that assessment process.
Okay, that's in general terms. So what was the specific reason for the delay this time for the Batch 2?
The program was designed according to guidelines that they would batch twice a year. To assess. So these were the applications received between November and April 2025. They were assessed by the committee in the independent assessment panel in May of 2025. and the Minister made her decision. The briefing was provided to the Minister on the 31st of July, and the Minister made her decision on the 8th of October.
Okay, so just run that through again. The assessment was done in
on the
June?
26th and the 27th of May.
Of May.
So that's the independent
Panel?
assessment panel.
Right.
The department then provides policy alignment assessment, and so that was undertaken through June and July.
Right.
And the briefing provided to the Minister on the 31st of July.
But the decision wasn't made till...
The 9th of October.
All right. So what was the reason for the delay there? Because that's August, September, most of October.
Oh, I wouldn't say most of October, Senator. The brief went up at the end of July, and then September, and then early October we got a decision.
But all of August, though, as well. You're missing a month there. I think maybe I might have got the date wrong in October, but that's more than 2 months.
That's correct. So
well
end of
2
July
months,
to early October.
Seems a lengthy time, given people are waiting on this and have made a lot of effort in their submissions. And then, she made a decision in October, but you're not announcing it for the next few weeks, is that right?
So they have been announced progressively from October. 9 of the 11 projects that are being funded have been announced, and there are 2 remaining to be announced.
Okay, when were the 9 announced?
We announced them. The 3rd of September. Sorry, the 10th of September, 10th of October, the 13th, the 14th, and the 23rd of October, and the 4th and the 17th of November.
Is there a reason to stagger them? I mean, people are waiting on these things.
It's a decision of the Minister.
Just a public relations exercise, by the sounds of it. Because I mean, these people are waiting a long time. I suppose the big issue for some of these people, presumably, if they've submitted something in January, not getting an answer till December. What provisions are there to help people who have faced significant cost inflation in their project over that period of time?
Senator, they could write back to government, but essentially we generally would accept the pricing on the application that they've given us.
But you would recognise that with inflation running at 3.8%, and that's the average rate. So some items are running much hotter than that. So these, I presume, some of them are pretty small organisations. By the sound of it, they face a potentially shortfall for the 12-month or so delay.
While the program was open, some applicants did choose to resubmit their applications.
They had the right to do that?
Costs. They could do that.
Okay, right up to the closure date. What was that date?
Which was the 5th of September.
Okay, all right, okay. How many applications were received each month under the regional and urban precincts and partnerships programs?
We don't have it by month, Senator.
Okay, what have you got it by?
In total for regional... So this is regional.
Well, this is regional and urban precincts and partnerships. It's 2 separate programs, aren't they?
So
they are 2 separate programs.
For regional, we received a total of 449 applications, and for urban, I'll have to find that figure for you. Have you got that?
I'm just finding that one.
You're right. Thanks.
154.
Right. And that's for this year, is it?
That's since the program opened.
Oh, okay. And how many have been funded, including the 2 yet to be announced?
So for the Regional Precincts and Partnerships program, funding for 44 projects has been announced, and for the Urban Precincts and Partnerships program, it is 17.
Right. It's a low hit rate. There's a lot of demand out there for it.
There is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I think Senator Mackenzie has questions.
I'm asking questions about the dog on the tucker box and 5 Mile Heritage Precinct, an application to the Regional Precincts and Partnership programs. In answers to a question put on notice from the October estimates regarding the pause, and the answer indicated that the program was paused on the department's website on the 5th of September 2025. but councils were not notified until 41 days later. Is that correct?
All the applicants were notified on the 5th of September.
On the 5th of September. But there was no advice to, when questions, how many councils, organisations or regional proponents were actively attempting to submit applications at the time the portal was paused, and how many of those applications were prevented from being lodged as a result?
So on the 5th of September...
Sorry, it took me a while to get there.
On the 5th of September, the program was paused. All applicants who had an application, regardless of what stage it was in the portal, were then given until the 17th of October to complete their application.
Right.
So as at the 5th of September, there were 156 draft urban precincts and partnerships applications, and there was 162 regional draft applications sitting in the system. Not all of them ended up submitting.
At the final?
By the 17th of October.
Yep. In the answers provided to questions taken on notice, on what date did the Minister approve the pause?
The decision to pause was the 26th of July 2025.
So why did it, if the Minister decides to do that on the 26th, why did it take 41 days to pause the program online?
It took us quite a while to work through with the business grants hubs the system changes that were needed and how we might go about a pause, given the system was actually set up to either be closed or be open. What we wanted to do was leave the system open for those people who had applications in draft to make sure that they could continue their applications until the 17th of October, and it just took us a while to work through those system changes.
Can you understand why local government are furious with the fact that you knew that the program was going to be paused 41 days before it was paused, and in that month and a bit, local governments would have been putting together proposals, expending a lot of resources, time, thinking, energy into a program that was paused?
Yeah, I understand the council's frustration, Senator.
Do you know how many submitted the first stages of their application between the 26th of July and the 5th of September?
I would have to take... I'd have to take that on notice,
Yeah.
whoever submitted between that period exactly.
And I would like to know the names.
Just to clarify your question, Senator, I think you were asking how many commenced an application in the system rather than submitted, and we would absolutely...
Yeah, I
have to take
don't want the
note.
final, because I want to know, you knew it was being paused, and yet we let councils
But those,
enter the portal and start their work for
so those
41
applications
days.
were still valid. So it was at the 5th of September. If you had started an application
No, I get
in
it,
the
but
portal,
if councils had have known it was going to be paused, they might have sought to choose other funding opportunities rather than focus their time on this one. And given applicants were advised to explore other funding opportunities, what alternative programs are available to local councils?
Right now, from a community infrastructure program point of view, we don't have any other programs.
Right. So
that are open
Cootamundra,
right
Gundagai Regional Council are seeking a fair and formal mechanism for reconsideration. What should they do for their Dog on a Tucker Box and 5 Mile Heritage Precinct projects?
Can I clarify, Senator Mackenzie? Were they?
They were in.
Yes. So they will
mix.
be. They will be being assessed in the front half of 2026. So any applications that were either submitted by the 5th of October, the 5th of September, or in draft then and submitted by the 17th of October will be assessed under the program.
Right, thank you. Very frustrating. Minister, is the government working on other regional programs? There just doesn't seem to be the rollout of the regional community infrastructure programs to be available to particularly regional councils that there used to be.
Well, the two programs that you and Senator Canavan were looking at are the programs that we've got, and as we've heard with the department there in what we're trying to do. But you would have, Senator, with other departments as well, opportunities for grant funding, not just in here. Well, say for example, if you look at what we're doing in the Indigenous Affairs space, trying to roll out the Remote Jobs Employment Development Strategy.
For the Gundagai and Cootamundra Council.
Oh, well, I'm talking generally for everyone. See, I think about everybody.
I thought you were
Senator
we're
Mackenzie.
talking remote Indigenous communities. The jobs programs aren't available in every community, as I understand it, Minister. Just on field days as regional infrastructure, just got some questions about regional grant programs for which regional field days would be eligible to apply. Given the regional field days kind of economic and social impact into regional communities, whether it's the Elmore Field Days or Henty.
So, Senator,
is there sort of funding opportunities for them?
To begin with, it would depend whether they were seeking funding for operations or for infrastructure.
Capital works.
The programs that we administer are for capital.
Is there anything precluding field days for regional infrastructure? Not operational.
If it was infrastructure,
like big sheds.
Yeah. Not knowing the details of their status as an entity and what that would mean for eligibility.
Well, they're like agricultural shows, they're field days.
Oh, I'm familiar with field days, but the program, for example, is for local governments and incorporated not-for-profit entities. So if they were, for example, a for-profit entity, that might rule them out on eligibility grants. That was the reason for my question.
Right. What could field days do to be eligible in the next funding round? Can I send them? Who can I send their representatives to in the department to speak to?
They're very welcome to get in touch with me, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Access to the Growing Regions program for field day infrastructure. I guess the department, if we're going to be funding showgrounds and venues used for agricultural field days, many which require capital upgrades, that would suggest. So it's the for-profit, or not-for-profit aspect of the entity.
I am very happy to engage in a discussion directly with them. I think there'll be a bunch of questions that we might want to talk through. The eligibility example is just one. Without knowing the details of the kinds of things that they would be seeking funding for, it is hard to comment.
All right, thank
certainty.
you. Well, I might get them in touch with you. I'll get my office to make sure. Mr McKay, they reach out. Alison Penfold wanted to ask about aligned councils in the line electorate that were not aligned when it comes to Lurkey. And I just wanted to understand which Lurkey projects are yet to be completed in the line electorate, and you don't do things by electorate, so Mid Coast Council.
Thank you, Senator. I'll just have a look and see whether I have that level of detail by project for the Lurkey program with me. There are, I don't know, a few thousand projects.
Okay, so why don't I ask you, the 5 councils, I would like an update on the Lurkey projects. Would that be easier? On notice?
Yeah. On notice would be great, yeah.
So can I get them like before Australia Day on notice?
Yes.
Thank you. So Mid Coast Council, Dungog Shire Council, Port Macquarie Hastings Council, Maitland City Council and Port Stephens Council.
Thank you, Senator. We'll get those on notice for you.
Thank you so much. Senator Canavan, did you have some questions?
Thank you, Senator Mackenzie. Yeah, just some quick ones. I'm just wondering about the principles that apply to financial assistance grants. Does the department do any monitoring to ensure that states are complying with those principles?
The right people to the table. While that's happening, Senator, I can just clarify the inconsistency that you identified in dates relating to the precincts and partnerships programs. You had a quan that didn't match the dates
Oh,
we were
yes,
giving it
yes.
evidence. That's an error on our part. We
Okay.
provided regional program dates against a question that was about the urban program.
Okay.
But the dates that Ms Cassie gave in Hansard
Yep.
just now are the correct ones.
As I said, I don't think it was the biggest scandal in the world, but thank you for clarifying that, Mr Mackay. Okay,
Principles on financial assistance.
back to my
Yep.
question. Yes, so monitoring of states' compliance with FAGs.
The FA grant funding is provided under the stipulations provided in the Local Government Financial Assistance Act, and as you know, there is two components, the general purpose component and also the local road component. So the general purpose component, the Australian Government sets the actual amount per state, and then it's up to each grant commissions in each state to then determine the allocation per local government area in alignment with the national principles. In regards to monitoring that, I will pass to my colleague Mr Boundary to see if he can answer that.
Thanks, Senator. John Bowdry, Acting Assistant Secretary for Local Government, Regional Intelligence and Data. So we do some quality assurance of the methodologies that the states and territories employ. There is broad discretion under the Act for them to develop their own methodologies, so long as they are in accordance with those national principles. We work with the states and territories as they develop those methodologies to make sure that they are in accordance. And then every year on their annual submission of their recommendations, we undertake a quality assurance check of those financial numbers to ensure that they comply with the methodologies that they've developed and are accurate in terms of the quantum of funding that is available.
Is there a requirement for the states to apply some sort of horizontal equalisation within its state?
Horizontal fiscal equalisation is the primary intent of the financial assistance grant distribution and the core principle.
Both within the state and across the country, across states?
Within the states.
Within states. And so is there monitoring done to ensure that's happening?
Yes, Senator. So the methodologies would need to demonstrate that fiscal equalisation, and we undertake engagement with the states and territories in developing those methodologies to ensure that they're in place.
Okay. Has there been, I mean, the Act is quite old. I think there has been some reviews of FAGs recently. Is there any current plans to review the FAGs grants at all?
Well, Senator, as you know, we do have the inquiry into the local government sustainability, and I am anticipating that would be a focus of investigating that with their submissions.
There was a review done, wasn't there, recently, or maybe 5-6 years ago or so?
The most recent review was undertaken by the Commonwealth Grants Commission.
Right.
That was commissioned in 2012 and reported in 2013.
Yes, time flies when you're having fun. All right, okay. I think that might be it for
We're on
outcome 3.
Sorry, yes, sorry, Senator Delia.
Thanks very much. And I just have a couple of questions about the growing regions and regional precincts and partnership program. So specifically, my question is around First Nations programs. Can the department please update us on the projects that are benefiting First Nations communities that were funded in rounds 1 and 2 of the Growing Regions program?
Yes, Senator, just let me get the slides. So for Growing Regions rounds 1 and 2, there are at least 17 projects totalling at least 86 million which have specific First Nation outcomes or will specifically benefit First Nation communities. The benefits that for First Nation people will be quite wide-ranging through these projects, including increasing First Nation employment and business opportunities, improving all-weather access to First Nations communities, delivering spaces for a range of culturally appropriate programs, reducing healthcare costs and increasing leisure and sporting participation, providing exhibition and commercial pathways for First Nation artists, and preserving local heritage and revitalise local traditional language.
And what's the progress with these? Have these already been rolled out, have they, or are these in the process of being rolled out?
So of these projects, 15 have had their funding agreements executed, 4 projects have broken ground, and 10 of those projects have received 1 or more milestone payments, so they are underway.
Thank you very much. And what kind of partnerships do you have in place with First Nations communities for projects under the RPPP program?
Senator, so a number of the RPPP programs have gone directly to First Nations organisations. So, for example, we had a program with the Arnhem Land Progress Aboriginal Corporation for an industrial and commercial precinct in Arnhem Land. We also had a project with the Western Desert Lands Aboriginal Corporation for community renewal in 3 different Aboriginal communities. We also had a project with the Jarwin Association Aboriginal Corporation for a tourism services precinct, and a number of our other projects. So, for example, with Charles Darwin University, Katherine Town Council, and the Shire of Wyndham in East Kimberley also had very specific First Nations projects.
Senator, could I also just add that for the Regional Precincts and Partnerships program, regardless of the project, the proponent must demonstrate that they have invited the relevant local traditional owners to be part of the partnerships. They don't need to have accepted, but they need to have demonstrated that they have sought that partnership.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for letting me know. Thank you, Chair.
Just quickly, what are the Wyndham East Kimberley projects?
The Wyndham East Kimberley projects. Let me Shire of Wyndham. The Kununurra Riverbank Recreation Project. It's in Wyndham East Kimberley. It was for 1.9 million.
Okay.
And it's in progress.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's it for outcome 3. Thank you very much. And we'll call officers for outcome 4. Okay, you can't do any more than that, Emma. We're not. Oh, well, if he gets up and they're still here, he gets a chance. Otherwise, you have to put them on notice. No worries.
Okay, outcome 4?
Yes, outcome 4. Fire away.
Okay, I have some questions on behalf of Shadow Minister Anne Webster. Around the transition of the Christmas Island air service contract from Virgin Australia to Qantas and the impact on small businesses and individual
Just getting the right people
islanders.
to the table, Senator.
So I'm reading. Okay. So freight affordability directly impacts small business operations, essential services, food supply, and the cost of living across both Christmas Island and Cocos Keeling Island. The islanders have contacted Shadow Minister Webster concerned at increases to freight costs and the charging of new higher rates for backlogged freights. Is the department aware of the changes to freight prices as the result of the air service contract transition from Virgin to Qantas?
Thank you, Senator. So Qantas, Ms Sian Manton, Acting Assistant Secretary, Indian Ocean Territories Branch. So Qantas is initially delivering the IoT air freight via interim arrangements, and that's until it can introduce a larger freighter on the IoT route. So there are new interim freight rates which will apply during this transition period. The rates are broadly aligning with the recommendations of the IoT supply chain review, and that review was chaired by the IoT Administrator and PRL. So under these changes and the interim
Can you just
rates,
avoid acronyms for people that aren't in your section of the department?
Yeah, so the Indian Ocean Territories Administrator and Phosphates Regional Limited.
Sorry, what was that one?
Phosphate Resources Limited.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think they are generally called PRL, but that's the full name of the company. Yeah.
Thank you.
So under the interim rates, there will actually be cheaper rates for over 60% of freight lodged, and that includes the categories of general cargo, perishable and medical. And that information has been communicated to the community and small businesses through a range of forums, including updates from the Administrator community bulletins and on the freight handlers website.
So how much have those freight charges increased?
So for 3 of the key categories, they are actually cheaper than they were.
That's not the question I asked. I asked how much has the freight charge. You said there are interim charges that are more. I would like to understand how much more.
So for those 3 categories, Senator, the interim charges are less. So there are some charges that are lower, and that's what Ms Mandan was referring to.
Some are lower.
Some are lower, and the
others,
the cheaper.
Other ones?
So the other rates are because there's been some new categories introduced. So for instance, we've introduced a new must-fly freight category, and that's been priced at the level which was recommended by the review.
And how much is that?
I will just pull out those rates for you and I can provide them all. So category 1A, which is must fly, and that can include medical and valuables, is $8.20 per kilo. Category 1B, which is must fly express, is $25 per kilo. Category 2, which is perishables, is $8.20 per kilo. Category 3 is Australia Post Mail, which is $9 per kilo. Priority General, which is Category 4, is $12 per kilo, and then General, which is Category 5, is $8.20. So the perishables, General and Must Fly Medical are all at that $8.20 rate, which is a cheaper rate. Now, what we've undertaken...
And can I just understand the other 3 categories, the Express, the $12 and the $9, the Australia Post, the Express and whatever the $12 one was. What's the price differential from earlier rates?
I would have to take that on notice. And
are they an increase on the earlier rates, on the previous rates?
So must fly is a new category, so that is a different rate, and the others I would need to check.
And just to add...
So there's 6 different categories.
That's right.
3 have stayed the same or are cheaper.
3 are cheaper.
What's happened to the other 3?
1 is new, and we will take on notice what's happened to the other 2. You asked...
I really don't think that small businesses would be complaining if it had gotten cheaper.
No, I accept the other 2 have gone up. You asked by how much. We'll take that on notice.
Right. The department's IOTS services FAQ document, now I'm using the acronyms, dated September 25, stated that a benefit of the new contract was anticipated cheaper prices for passenger tickets and air freight. What has the department done to address the concerns that there does seem to be a disconnect between the comms to the IoT and the grassroots experience of businesses and community members on Christmas Island?
So, Senator, the new arrangements will deliver additional annual passenger capacity, about 5,000 additional seats, and air freight. Ms Mandan mentioned that the arrangements that she's just been describing to you are interim arrangements, so I might just ask her to add on the timeline for the interim arrangements and when we expect to shift to permanent arrangements.
So we anticipate that in probably the next 6 months, so by mid next year, we will have a review of the freight rates. That is leading into Qantas introducing a new larger freighter for its Indian Ocean Territory services.
Thank you.
So we've undertaken to the community to review those freight rates in the next 6 months.
Okay. Will the department commit to negotiating transitional pricing fairness to the freight consigned before the 3rd of November 25 is charged at the old rate, regardless of the uplift date?
Senator, I don't think that's a commitment that we could give in this hearing, but we will take that question on notice and consider it.
Please. Now, tourism operators have complained that Qantas won't deal with the fact that when they cancel and delay flights out of Christmas Island, there's a huge issue with passengers needing additional accommodation and meals, given the short supply or the constricted supply of both. what are the contractual expectations of Qantas when these events occur?
Senator, this is about Kim Forbes, First Assistant Secretary of Territories. I believe you may be referring to a recent sort of bad weather event with Qantas where sort of the flight had to be delayed. Is that what you're...
Knowing what I know about the aviation sector, I'm sure it's not an isolated incident.
and as you be aware...
So what have you put into the... Have you put anything... Is there anything in the contract servicing these islands to do with cancellation and delays and the expectations on the service provider, which in this case is Qantas?
So in that instance, Qantas has sort of engaged accommodation sort of options on Christmas Island to assist when there is another sort of potential severe weather delay and a flight has been delayed, and make sure passengers were looked after.
Secretary, is this something that the Minister's ombudsman person could look into?
It depends what it is. As we explained earlier on, that scheme is still under development at the moment, subject to consultation and so on.
Right. Maybe when it's...
Yeah, we can talk
Maybe
about
we can send Christmas Island to be part of the consultations, because it is quite a unique issue. Small businesses, again, are receiving cancellations largely due to flight unavailability and significantly increased price of airfares under the new arrangement. Are you aware of that concern? There's recent reports of people being forced to pay $986 for a one-way flight out of Christmas Island for a medical appointment. Are you aware of that, Ms Forbes?
No, Senator. We know Qantas has incorporated a price matching guarantee when we sort of moved from Virgin to Qantas. And then as we were sort of doing the transitional arrangements, we sort of instructed Qantas to hold small blocks of seats to assist special needs groups such as your people that need to go for medical assistance.
How do they access that support?
We have what we call the patient-assisted travel scheme, where we assist patients to be transferred and sort of have that sort of availability to leave island to go.
No, I'm not talking about the. Usually, that's when you need an ambulance, and there's no ambulance because you're flying from an island.
That's right.
Not if you're going to your specialist appointment in Sydney.
The PAT scheme, yes. So the patient-assisted transfer scheme is that to assist people living on island that need to go to a medical appointment in Perth, and that is assisted, as we've got small blocks of seats available on the plane to help those passengers get to their.
So when the department claims, and I quote, cheaper prices for both passenger tickets, up to 42% less, and air freight, yet the lived experience right now on the islands, both at a passenger level and with the movement of freight, isn't seeing cheaper prices for both passenger tickets and air freight.
So, Senator, we will take that on notice to follow up. As Ms Forbes mentioned, Qantas has advised us they will price match cancelled Virgin bookings. Qantas has also established a VIP call service for IOT passengers who have urgent inquiries regarding travel arrangements to and from the territories. We will take that specific question on notice to investigate further.
What safeguards are in place, given this committee's long experience in understanding when Qantas is the only service into town, their propensity to raise prices, to become incredibly difficult for everyday people to be able to access flights. What mechanisms does the department have in place to protect everyday Christmas Islanders on getting back to the mainland when they have to?
I think, Senator, the first point is that is the purpose of our subsidy, is to subsidise airline services to and from the territories where regular services would not otherwise be commercially viable. But I'll ask
$986 one way.
So, and Senator, so This is followed as sort of an open and competitive tender process.
No, I'm sure you followed a good process. I want to know, what do you have in place now that it's done that will give these people confidence that they won't be ripped off?
Now, there is additional flights. And as you'd be aware, there has been sort of always quite constrained flights and able to get a seat. So there's an additional 12 sort of Perth to Christmas Island sort of return passenger flights each year, and an additional sort of annual sort of passenger flights and air freight sort of capacity to the IoT. So we're looking at about 5,000 seats extra. And then overall, and this is overall, the cheaper ticket price for passenger flights will be up to 42% less.
Yes, that is on your frequently answered questions website, but it's not currently the lived experience of the people. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Senator Pocock. All right, just one or two quick. Yeah, okay. Senator Colbeck now coming. Then we can finish that part of the conversation.
Yeah. So I was talking to Mr. Stankiewicz last time.
Yes.
And it was in relation to exactly the same thing Senator McKenzie's talking about with respect to costs incurred or losses due to the changeover. So, and I asked at that time if there were if there was a formal process to make claims against for losses, and Mr. Stankiewicz said to me, yes, the administrator has put out 3, one might have gone out last week, or 4 community updates since the decision was announced. The emails go to the box in Perth, and his team would be looking at them. So the impression that I got was that there was a formal process for engagement and to deal with losses that have been incurred as a result of the changeover. And so this is from an organisation on Christmas Island who say that they've lost at least 5,000 plus. I forwarded that to Minister McBain, and I've basically just got the standard patter back in a letter, or Mr. Watchorn did. But it doesn't seem as though there's, as I was given the impression, and I thought that there was a formal process for somebody to make claims to deal with their concerns. What is the situation? And I'm going back to Hansard from the last estimates when I asked questions about this in relation to that particular situation.
So the situation has been that we did put out those specialist contact numbers to the community and to businesses and operators to ensure that if they were having issues with rebooking passengers who had been on a Virgin flight and needed to be rebooked on a Qantas flight, we did have those small blocks of held seats to enable group travel.
Yeah, but this was about something. This is about losses to their business that they'd incurred. That was the conversation we were having. Flicking it back to Qantas for some sort of process is not the answer I'm looking for. I was under the impression, and people listening were under the impression, from listening to the conversation, that there was a formal process for them to make a claim for losses as a result of the changeover. Now, again, as Senator McKenzie said, the lived experience doesn't seem to be the case. Is there a process for people to make a claim for losses as a result of the changeover? And it's not, we'll refer it back to Qantas and see if they'll make some recompense. My impression was that there was a formal process to deal with that, and they would come to you in the department to manage that process.
Senator, the process was that we were talking about at last Senate estimates was the transitional arrangements.
Yeah.
And that's where my colleague Ms Manton was outlining. There was a number of items that we established to help businesses and individuals as they transitioned from Virgin through to Qantas. So there was a dedicated email, there was a dedicated phone number set up for for group bookings as well as individual bookings. We worked with impacted travel agencies as well to assist those bookings to be transferred from Virgin to Qantas. There was a number of businesses that we also worked with to ensure that they were connected with Qantas travel agent services to facilitate the movement of their bookings. This was also we worked with making sure child fares were negotiated with Qantas to be 75% of adult fares. We incorporated a price matching guarantee from Virgin to Qantas. We also worked with Qantas and ensuring not only having those dedicated emails and phone numbers available, but we also as businesses reached out via those dedicated phone emails, the department supported to ensure those bookings were transferred. So it was making sure that transition was smooth as possible. And then in addition to that, department instructed Qantas to hold small blocks of seats to assist special needs groups.
But my question and my letter to Minister McBain were specifically relating to appropriate process to seek compensation for the losses his business has incurred. That's what I wrote. And that's the question. Have you had any advice with respect to direct losses by tourism businesses on Christmas Island as a result of the change? I mean, I walked away with the impression there was a process for somebody to make a claim as a result of direct results of losses as a result of the change. That's the impression that I got when I asked the question. If there are others, this is Mr. Stanevicus. If there are others where there are concerns, we are happy to work with them to mitigate.
Yes. So
that was
Senator,
his last words. My question was, is there a formal process to do that, Mr. Stanevicus? A formal process. Is there a process for somebody who has remaining concerns? Mr. Stanevicus says yes.
So, Senator, my colleagues have walked you through the steps that I would put in the category of mitigation in the quote that you've just read. I don't know, but I'm very happy to take on notice whether we have had, through those dedicated channels, any specific instances raised with us of losses.
Well, I suspect you would have, because I wrote to the Minister about it, raising it. I wrote to the Minister, raising it, on the 13th of October, after estimates.
I was referring to your question about whether we had heard from small businesses on the island, Senator. I'm very happy, unless my colleagues know while we're here, very happy to take that element on notice. But certainly, I think Ms Forbes has given you a fairly long list of the activities that I would categorise as mitigation.
So, simple question. Is there a process for somebody to claim losses suffered as a result of the changeover?
Senator, we don't.
And I'm not interested in all the other stuff you just told me.
We don't have a formal program in the sense that there's not a separate appropriation for that, but we would invite anyone who thinks they are in that position to contact the department through the communication channels that have been in the administrator's 3 or 4 bulletins.
Yes.
Thanks, Senator Colbeck. Senator Pocock.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your time. I've got some questions about Norfolk Island. And wanted to start off asking about the passenger transport vehicles that
vessels, Senator.
Vessels, yeah. Yep. That the Commonwealth, I believe the Commonwealth purchased 3 of them.
Yes.
Purpose-built passenger transport vessels to help ferry passengers from cruise ships to the island, given that's a sort of a big thing for businesses on the island. And my understanding, looking at the what's been released, is it was wildly successful, and it took transporting passengers from cruise ships more than doubled, 40 to 92%. Great for businesses. People very happy. I've been advised that the Commonwealth previously funded essentially the difference between revenue from people paying and the operational costs and the Commonwealth has stopped doing that. And so now we've got 3 vessels sitting there not being used. Is that correct?
Senator, so you are aware that, as you outlined, so the department purchased 3 passenger transfer vessels back in 2019, and that was to support Norfolk Island as that destination for cruise itineraries, with the aim of the operation would become commercially viable. 2019, unfortunately, COVID hit. And the variability has been quite high, and the option of cruise ship arrivals over the years has not occurred to the anticipation of that. At present, there is a current break in cruise visits. I know there was one just recently this week, but a number of your smaller cruise ships have their own PTVs. So what we're noticing is the PTVs that have been purchased back in 2019 have not been in high use. So the department is currently taking the opportunity while there is a break in the cruise ships and review the operations of the PTVs ahead of the next scheduled cruise arrivals in I believe early next year.
So what I was told was that the PTVs aren't currently being used, and so this cruise ship, I think it was 167 people got to the island, and I'm being told that if the PTVs were used, you'd probably be looking at around 2,000, just because of they can take a lot more people. And so why aren't they being used? Is there no funding for it, or was it just a decision not to use them?
So there was a contract for the PTVs to be used by a company to ferry passengers to and from the cruise ship. That contract has come to an end, and while there is a hiatus in the cruise industry.
Well, there was one on the weekend, so it can't be that much of a
And as I said, Senator, that one was a small cruise ship, and they have their own PTVs. They don't require the large PTVs, which are quite big and cumbersome. So you have your smaller cruise ships that use their own PTVs.
Sure. When did the contract end?
It ended, I believe, mid this year.
This year? And so what happens if a big cruise ship arrives?
There is none scheduled at the moment, and we normally have an understanding when some are scheduled, and it's not until early next year before the next large cruise ship is scheduled.
So what happens early next year then when it arrives?
Well, at the moment, we're working with community and stakeholders and understanding there's many different perspectives on the PTVs, and we're just working through some options to work through here.
Okay, with the view of doing what?
With, again, looking at the demand, the cost, and what are the potential options going forth with the PTVs.
Okay. So we've just got these boats just sitting there now.
Well, in the sense that there aren't scheduled cruise arrivals that would require the use of them.
Well, yes. I'm being told that there was one on the weekend, and I don't know if it was big or small, but I'm being told that if the PTVs were in use, there would have been a lot more people on the island.
Senator, I can't speculate as to whether or not that's true. Ms Forbes' evidence is that it was a vessel that didn't require the use of larger PTVs.
Okay, sure. So my understanding is that there's 8 cruise ships expected to try and stop at Norfolk in the next financial year with over 12,000 passengers. Will the Commonwealth be ready for that?
So next financial year, as in starting in July of 2026, yes. I mean, do you want to comment on timeframes of the review that we're doing now?
I was going to say that we're currently working through the timeframes options right now, and so we'll be in a position early in the new year to outline the way forward.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Can I ask about the governance and the NIGC and the transition to the Norfolk Island Assembly?
Yes.
How many meetings have there been of the NIGC since July?
Senator, the NIGC has met regularly, and as of just, was that last week, not the week before, there was a 2-day workshop on Island. So there's been many meetings of the NIGC. Exactly the number, to have to take that on notice, because there has been quite frequent meetings.
Is there a reason why there haven't been any community updates or communiques since July?
I was going to say, like, given that there was a workshop just recently, I believe a communique is being drafted sort of post that meeting at the moment.
Sure. But if there's been other meetings, I guess in the context of a group of people who really haven't had much democracy, and you know what the dynamics are like, should there have been at least community updates, given that there are meetings happening?
I was going to say that the community representatives on the NIGC provide community updates regularly to the community.
How do they do that?
I believe it's every second Wednesday. They are providing sort of, they're going to community meetings and providing updates.
But no written, for people who don't have the time to go to a community meeting, how do they find out?
And there's also sort of the website of the NIGC community reps are also sort of providing sort of information out. There's different mechanisms that the community reps sort of communicate to the people on Norfolk Island.
Okay, I guess I'm just concerned, they're looking at a whole range of things, including the potential models for financial sustainability, and no updates since July. You say there's a lot of work happening, but...
It's really a matter for the committee, Senator, as to when communiques are published and so on. We are a member of the committee, but we are not the committee.
Okay. You'd be the member with the resources, though. Can you tell me the status of the electoral ordinance, the financial model and the assembly ordinance? Have these drafts been provided to the government, and have they been made publicly available?
So for the electoral ordinance, so the policy sort of parameters and sort of the work that the NIGC has been working on, that sort of what the NIGC is recommending is available on the NIGC website in detail. In respect of the financial model, that's still being worked up by the NIGC.
And when will they be made public?
Well, the financial model,
you said the electoral ordinance has been done?
The policy recommendations from the NIGC on the electoral ordinance is available on the NIGC website.
Okay. And when can we expect elections to be held for the new Assembly?
As you'd be aware, sort of the Minister sort of announced that the administrators for the Norfolk Island Regional Council has been extended to another 12 months to allow sort of transitionary arrangements and allow the inaugural election to be held next year.
Okay, next year?
Yes.
2026?
That's the intention.
And then I've just got a few more, Chair. On the Norfolk Island Act preamble, there's a series of FAQs on the department's website. I think they were published on the 12th of November last year. And it reads, yes, the government is committed to reinstating a preamble. It sort of goes on with details. And so I was interested, where's work up to on the preamble? When will we see this happen?
Senator, as you know, there's been quite a lot of great input into the preamble, and being worked through, and that reinstating the preamble will require an amendment to the Norfolk Island Act, and therefore the NIGC is focusing on the electoral ordinance and actually the governance model, because there will be a fair bit of work to instates that into the Norfolk Island Act. So it's just the timing will be a matter for government.
Sure. When do you expect to give advice to government on the wording of the updated preamble?
Well, the wording for the preamble was outlined from the community consultation. Sure. That's just going through legal review. So it's just up to government to
put a bill into the
It's going through legal review and and having that at NIGC, there was a broad conversation talking about the preamble.
And so the legal advice has been that the legal stuff has been done?
It's a work in progress at the moment.
Sure. And do you know when that'll be done? By?
Soon. I can't give you a precise date on that, okay. Senator.
Thank you. I've got some questions about the former General Manager of the Council, who left the Council in July last year.
We will assist if we can, Senator, but I think they are questions best put to the Regional Council.
Sure. Is the department aware of the circumstances of his departure from council?
I think that's,
was he terminated by the administrator or did he resign?
I think that's an employment matter for the council, Senator.
I assume you have some sort of role with the administrator though?
The administrator is in place of the council, and the administrator, and to be clear, I mean the administrator of the council, not the administrator of Norfolk Island, is the employer of council staff.
Okay, but you would provide the funding if there was a termination benefit?
Not directly, Senator.
No, where would that come from?
It would come from the resources of the Regional Council.
Okay. And so you can't tell me whether he resigned or his contract was terminated?
It's a question best put to the Regional Council, Senator.
Okay.
They are,
and how do
they
I
are
ask
the employer.
How do I ask them that?
My recollection is the administrator has previously been called to estimates.
Okay. I'll put some questions on notice to them. It just seems like there's a big discrepancy. You know, he's saying on LinkedIn that he resigned, but a $424,973 termination benefit was paid, and I don't think those two things go together. So I'm keen to understand what happened there and if he was paid correctly.
Those are questions for the council, Senator.
Okay. And so the Commonwealth is funding the council.
We provide funding to the council, yes.
And you've
they
got
also raise their own revenue through.
You have no oversight over a $425,000 payment to someone on the way out.
We are not the employers of the council staff.
I understand that, but there's no reporting of that. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of commentary around the general manager's departure.
Beyond commentary, are you aware of reporting from the council to the department?
No, there was no reporting to the department. It was sort of announced at the council election, sort of the figure that you're talking about. So we are aware of it because it was announced at the last council meeting.
We are not the only provider of funding to the council.
Sure. And you didn't investigate that?
It's not our employment relationship, Senator.
I understand that, but I'd assume you'd want some oversight over the finances, given there's a lot of Commonwealth money going to the council.
We have, as you would expect, robust governance processes over the funding that we provide to the council.
How can you be certain that that $425,000 didn't come out of funding that you provided to the council?
Because we review information on the services that we contract from the council.
So we have sort of service delivery arrangements with council and what's required and the costings associated with each of those services.
Okay.
But the regional council is a distinct entity, separate from the department.
Okay, I'll take that up with the council then. Maybe just finally on reef health. Is that?
Sorry,
reef health. I'm interested what's happening with the island's sewage system.
Are you talking about sort of more down in Emily Bay? Is that?
Yeah, and I guess around the island, there's been a lot of concerns about the health of the reefs around the island, and I had a briefing with the department a couple of years ago now, and was told that work was underway to upgrade the sewage system, and I was just keen to find out what is happening there with the upgrades.
To the upgrade with the sewage system, yes, there is work underway with the Carver sewage system, and I might ask my colleague Ms Newling to provide an update on that project.
Jo Newling, Assistant Secretary, Territories Enabling Services Branch. We have a project to deliver sewer upgrades in the Carver area. There are 3 stages to that sewer project. Stage 1 was completed in August 2024. Stage 2 was completed in August 2025, and Stage 3 is currently under development approval. The total project budget is $8.2 million in capital.
And that's all covered by the Commonwealth?
Yes.
And after Stage 3 is completed, are you fairly confident that there won't be sort of untreated sewage going into what is an Australian marine park?
So the sewer project relates to the Carver precinct and Commonwealth land.
Yep.
So we have built the project in order to prevent sewage that comes from Commonwealth land, but I can't speak to the systems that are outside of the Commonwealth land.
Is there any work being done on the broader issues around sewage on the island?
I was going to say, Senator, that the water quality problems down in Emily Bay, it's a mixture of not only sewage, but there's also the wetland that dries out, and then the cattle sort of pugging that soil, and there's acid sulphate soils there, and that's releasing sort of some of your heavy metals, as well as sort of the ongoing sort of surface water and groundwater sort of pollutants. So it's a mixture of a number of things going on there. In respect of wastewater, I understand that the council is undertaking a review of the wastewater sort of plans on island at present.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Senator.
Cheers.
Thanks, Senator Pocock. Outcome 4, any more questions? If there isn't, thank you very much, everyone. You can escape. And we will call Air Services Australia.
Getting to agencies before 9 o'clock.
Oh, mate. Sorry?
So you're getting to agencies before 9 o'clock.
Well, we're only an hour behind. Oh, just brilliant the way I did that, wasn't it? All right. Questions for Air Services. I have your name down, Senator McDonald. Is that right?
Terrific. Yes.
Okay. Senator McDonald.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening. I wanted to continue asking some questions about the decommissioning of the instrument landing system at Townsville Airport. We've already spoken about this. You're going to come back to me with some answers from Air Force, but I note before this estimates you haven't been able to. Did you want to update me on anything before I start?
Look, we've indicated that Defence and Queensland Airport Corporation are the ones that are actually running that particular project. I'll pass to Mr Curran to respond to any further questions that you have in regards to our communication with them.
Thank you, Senator. Peter Curran, Air Services Deputy Chief Executive Officer. Thank you for the question, Senator. As I think we provided to your office and in discussion, the role of Air Services here is in relation to the ILS itself. The determination around the runway extension is a matter for Defence, and so to the extent that we have a role in the project, it is around the replacement of that ILS. So as they extend the runway, we will have to turn the ILS off, and we won't be able to...
You have turned the ILS off?
Yes, correct, Senator. Yes, sorry. The ILS is turned off, and we will not be able to turn it back on until the runway is near completion for us to have access to that land again. That's why there's a significant gap where the ILS will not be available. In the interim, other approach procedures will be made available, and we understand that Townsville Airport are also undertaking some additional activity to look to improve the other non-precision approach minima, the landing minima, in that time.
Am I right that the decommission period is now from October 2025, so off, to August 2027?
Senator, that sounds correct. From our perspective, our works take 9 months, or approximately 9 months.
So I appreciate that this is not necessarily your responsibility apart from reinstalling the equipment, but given that Defence won't come back to me and the aviation industry has got no information on what the alternate precision support is, and that Flying Doctor is having to make alternate arrangements to charter towers, that we have charter operators who, everybody has no idea what's going on. It is a significant Northern Australia landing field. I spoke to you about there being nothing in Townsville. If there's a cyclone, nothing in Mount Isa as well, so if there's a cyclone, Cairns will be out, Townsville will be out, It seems a very limited response from government to not be able to answer these pretty basic questions, and to seem to have almost no regard for what the alternate proposition is. Given this is defence, given this is a significant place for Air Force facilities, should we have any sort of crisis, evacuation, Pacific Island nations, much less, an external threat, I'm perplexed as to why I'm finding it so hard to get any information.
Senator, I can't talk for Defence, unfortunately. But what I can say is, for our part in the process, the recommissioning of the ILS, we will be doing as rapidly as we can, and working with the airport and Defence to make sure that we get that back up and running at the earliest timeframe possible. I just can't talk for Defence, I'm afraid.
Minister, I appeal to you as another Northern Australian. Air Services can't answer. I've been over to the Defence Estimates Committee last time. We'll get back to you, Senator. Crickets. There's nowhere to land in wet seasons, low visibility, low cloud, and this is what we're getting is SOS. So no Flying Doctor, no immediate access to Townsville Airport, no emergency evacuations from Cairns, because we know the problems Cairns has. Townsville now doesn't have ILS for nearly 2 years.
So is the Flying Doctor going into Mount Isa?
No, the Flying Doctor has a base at Townsville, but they don't have instrument landing, an instrument landing system. It's been taken out while Defence extends the runway. An important project we all support. 2 years. I ask you, Minister, perhaps you could get some action,
I'll certainly
please.
have a look at it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I know what it's like up north, and we just had the cyclone recently, as you saw, with Darwin. We're also similar in terms of the shared defence facility with the airport there. So, I'll have a look.
I'd appreciate that, because we seem to have nobody able to take responsibility, and I do worry. This is, if we do have any sort of crisis situation, we don't have the best technology available to Australians, available to Australian aircraft, and the aviation industry in the region can't get any answers. And so they're really looking to the estimates process to try and get the answers that they can't get in a work environment. And Townsville Airport's trying, but you can see that they're not having much success.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, chair's gone?
I'm on the chair now, so.
Terrific.
Sorry, Senator McKenzie.
Thank you. This morning, the Infrastructure Department Secretary confirmed that Minister King has received a letter from the Minister for Finance requesting identification of saving measures across the department and agencies, as was reported in the AFR last week. Has the Minister discussed this request with your organisation, Mr Sharp?
Thank you, Senator. The Chair and I met with the Minister recently.
Minister King or Minister Gallagher?
Minister Catherine King.
Okay, yes.
And we did discuss where are we at financially. We're financially challenged, and one of those discussions was our savings program.
Yep.
We actually have in our corporate plan this year $100 million, much more than 5%. And that's because we're in a position where the efficiencies are needed. We're funded by the airlines. I need to be able to look the airlines in the eye and say we're operating efficiently. And we've just recently shared with the airlines our forecast for the next 5 years and the productivity that we're looking to deliver in that process.
So when
but the official 5%, Senator, hasn't been communicated.
Sorry?
But the official communication that you referenced hasn't been sent to us, but we have talked
But Minister
about
King,
savings.
so that's what I was...
Yes.
So whether Minister Gallagher wrote to departments and agencies separately, or whether has asked Cabinet Ministers to look after their agencies?
We haven't received a communication.
No, but you've spoken to Minister King
Correct.
about the contents of that
Yes.
letter. Right. Thank you. So if a 5% saving measure was applied to your agency, what would the financial cost be? What would the saving be of Air Services?
Well, our income is $1 billion and our expenses are sitting at around $1.1 billion. So 5% of that would be $50 million. And we've committed to $100 million this year.
Right. To find savings of $100 million?
Correct.
Okay.
And we've already delivered a run rate of 65.
Well, was Minister King very happy with that?
She was.
Good.
Yes.
I bet she
said
was.
I should do more.
Yes, I bet she was. Okay, and Minister King was also happy with your priorities, the thing that you in your corporate plan, obviously, your highest priorities, lowest priorities.
We've been...
Have you structured your corporate plan in that manner?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And one of the other costs for us is PFAS, which is the remediation, quite substantial. So we've also been briefing the department and the Minister's office in regards to that pipeline of costs that will continue to come through over future years.
Okay, I've just got some questions that have come in from concerned citizens in Brisbane about sod props. So at last Senate estimates, Mr Curran stated that Air Services Australia had revised downwards their Brisbane Airport sod props target of 5.3% to 3.2%. It now appears even this percentage will not be achieved for 2025 and is more likely to come in at 2.7%, nearly half the official target. More flights over water is totally dependent on the prioritisation of the usage of sod props. How many estimates and inquiries do we need? How could Air Services Australia have got their target percentage so wrong, and what measures are you taking to improve the situation?
Thank you, Senator. I'll pass to Mr Curran on the detail.
Oh, Mr Curran, there you are.
However, just to paint the picture, the sod props percentage that we run in Sydney is around 4.5%. We did set a target of 5.8 based on historic weather patterns in Brisbane. So that target was one that we did set about a year ago.
Yep.
And the numbers that have been quoted are how we're tracking towards that. I'll just pass to Mr Curran.
Senator, thank you for the question. I'd obviously like to double check my evidence, but my recollection, and certainly what I would have intended to say, wasn't that we were revising the target downward. The target remains the target of 5.3%, but the forecast for our performance this year will fall short of the 5.3%, and at that time we were forecasting 3.2% for the calendar year 2025.
And what is your... We're nearly at the end of the calendar year, so Mr Curran, what's your best number today?
We are, I beg your pardon, we're forecasting 3.2% now. I think it may have been 3.
Is that now?
That's as at today. We're forecasting 3.2% for the full year, and so that is going to fall short of the 5.3% target. But just to be clear, Senator, I don't believe I suggested we would revise the target down. The target remains the target. And for perhaps some important context, in 2024... what
will be the achievement against the target? You think it'll still come in at 3.2?
That's correct. That's what we're forecasting for this year. But for context, prior to the ministerial direction at the end of 2024 and for the calendar year 2024, we achieved only 1.14%. And so we have increased that substantially this year. We have other initiatives underway which we think will help continue to unblock some of the limitations we have in the amount of sod props we can do when the weather and traffic conditions permit. And so we're continuing to work toward that target.
So Australia adopted the reduction of tailwind speed from 10 knots to 5 knots some years ago. Can you provide a date when this occurred and the current status of the application for an increase in tailwind speed at Brisbane Airport to 7 knots?
Senator, I would have to take the first question on notice as to what date Australia moved away from the of 10 knots to 5 knots. There is a runway use program trial which actually is commencing in Brisbane tonight, and that runway use program enables pilots to make the determination, should they deem it appropriate, to operate with a tailwind greater than 5 knots but less than 10 knots.
And that starts tonight?
It starts tonight in Brisbane, and that trial is led by Brisbane Airport Corporation. We've supported it, and it's an opt-in trial, so it's at the discretion of the pilot in command.
Well, I'm absolutely confident that everybody that's struggled with this over recent years will contact my office over the incoming days and weeks to let me know how that's going. Air Service Australia's procurement process for One Sky, the amalgamation of domestic and defence departments' airspace, commenced in 2010, 15 years ago, and is due to go live in late 2027. Does Air Service Australia still stand by this timeline for delivery?
Senator, maybe if I can just kick off. We were asked to provide a timeline and schedule, which we have provided. That gives insight as to the steps to actually achieve that date. We are on track for that. Now, it is aggressive, but we are still targeting that date. And we've had some good progress with TELUS on testing. The Melbourne site is finished with the software up and running. And all indications at this point are that we're on track for that date. Thank you.
I've got some questions about the Cairns fire station premises upgrades. What was the budgeted amount for upgrades and refurbishment of the Cairns fire station at the airport?
I'll have to take that on notice.
Really?
Michelle?
I reckon there's about $4 million worth of salaries here at the table.
I'll just ask... Okay, sorry, we don't have it here. I'll see whether the team can get it for you, but otherwise it's on
Thank
notice.
you. Well, I know Senator Collins has some questions for you, so maybe someone can find that. I've got a suite of questions around the Cairns Airport.
Find that.
There's a blast from the past.
Did you have questions for Air Services? Casa.
Thank you, though.
Can I just follow up with you with Air Services? What information do you have on curfews?
On curfew?
Yes.
It's a matter for the department and the minister. We don't have any responsibility for setting those policies.
Sir, if I may, I believe you had a query around curfews at Townsville and Newcastle. And my understanding is we provided that information, I think, to your office, which was that there is not a curfew at either of those locations.
Well, there absolutely was a curfew last Thursday night.
Well.
It's very... And for all the boarding school kids coming home, you couldn't go back to their accommodation, had to find a motel room, unsupervised.
What happened?
What could possibly go wrong?
Senator, sorry, if I may just correct that. At Townsville, there is no curfew. There is a civilian curfew, we understand it, in Newcastle. But it might be better that we provide that in writing on notice just to make sure we get that exactly right.
Thank you.
Any updates on Cairns?
Yay, look at that.
Michelle Peterson, Chief Aerodromes Officer. So Cairns Fire Station, sorry, I've just got to get back on my phone, is part of Phase 1A AFT Next Gen, which has just recently been approved by Public Works Committee.
Right.
Cairns AFT Station rebuild, including the building fit-out and the coal drill ground, will be coming in at $4.1 million.
$4.1 million? How many firefighters are there at Cairns, full-time and part-time?
I would need to take that on notice and I'll come back to you on that.
I'd also like to understand if they're there 24/7?
Correct, they are.
Yep. And I assume that's why they're fully equipped with toasters, ironing facilities, washing machines, sofas, dishwashers, barbecues, blenders, air fryers, everything including the kitchen sink in this build?
Good.
Correct, yes.
Is there more we can give them?
This is a major upgrade for the Cairns Fire Station at Cairns Airport. What was the budgeted amount for the weather protection walkway?
I would need to take that question on notice. So just for clarity, Cairns Fire Station was actually destroyed as part of Cyclone Jesper. So they are now in a temporary building. As part of AFT Next Gen Phase 1A, we'll be moving them to a permanent facility.
Okay, thank you. And the Adelaide Fire Station at Adelaide Airport cost $1.386 million. What's the difference between the two?
Again, I would need to take that one on notice. Again, Cairns building at the moment is a rebuild, as in it's a brand new building. The Adelaide AFT station was a retrofit, i.e. the station existed and then we made renovations to the station.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I have no further questions for Air Services.
Thank you. So,
to avoid taking that question on notice...
hang on, let me get this right. Sorry, you both have questions? You don't? You do? No, I know he is, but I saw you waving your hand. I'm asking, do you have questions too? You don't? Okay. I can see Mr. Cohen, but you have questions. I do. Right.
Thank you.
Can you go, Mr. Cohen?
Thank you, Chair. Just to address the question rather than take it on notice, the number of firefighters employed at Cairns is a total of 47 at present.
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you. I just want to go back to Hobart and the conversation we had last time with respect to the current proposals that are there. I just want to go back to the conversation that we had with respect to the sequence. When we first looked at the new change back in 2017, I think it was, there was one flight path that came in. After it went to a review with complaints from people at Dunalley, there were 2, RNAV and the RNP. Can I acknowledge the work that you've done with respect to the moving? I've got the pretty coloured map in front of me right now. With the revised option for the RNP with a 2K buffer on that, and it clearly makes a big difference in terms of overflight with respect to residential areas, which are quite clearly shown up on the map. My understanding, though, is that from the flight path, there's a 3K side range where the pilots can fly. So with a 2K line on the map, but really a 3K band, it starts to really, well, the pilots could, if they cut it tight, still fly over Primrose Sands, and there's a fairly dense population there, and on the other side there's Connolly's March. I still don't understand why we've got 2 flight paths, particularly once you get past the Barville. I really don't understand why there's 2 flight paths.
So we've got the experts here. So
the reality is, and I'm talking to pilots, there's only ever going to be one aircraft beyond the Barville, and I get that you might save a little bit of fuel, that the airlines might save a little bit of fuel, but I'm a bit over the airlines at the moment, like some of my colleagues. I've been left in airport lounges too long. And so I'm really interested in the well-being of the people under the flight path in this circumstance. So why can't we go back to the RNAV where it's been relocated to? If I look at the map, it's pretty much clear of anybody, and the impact is on the airlines, not the residents under the flight path. Why can't we do that?
Senator, we do have the experts here, and we can.
I'm not one, I admit that, but I'm just looking at the map and I'm
the first comment
communicating with the same people you're communicating.
Those lines that you talk to are the centre line of an area, and pilots will drift either way, and so there's typically a pathway there. I'll pass to Ms O'Day initially, but we do have Ms Marshall, who's actually just been down in Hobart recently talking to the community about these exact flight paths.
Thanks, Rob. So Jackie O'Day, Chief Risk, Noise and Environment Officer, Air Services Australia. Thank you, Senator, for the question. And as Mr Sharp said, We have just released the preferred design for recommendation 4 on the 17th of November, and Ms Marshall, my colleague, was in Hobart this last weekend consulting with the community down there around that. There were 2 recommendations, as you're aware. Recommendation 4, which shifted the existing arrival path 2 to 3 kilometres to the east.
Yep.
And then there was a second recommendation, recommendation 6, which moved the longer arrival path, the east coast route, over water. And we did a lot of community consultation in Hobart.
Yep.
And recommendation 4 was found to provide a number of benefits, as you mentioned, the key one being the number of people directly overflown was reduced from 971 to 94. It also reduced the number of people subject to noise levels above 60 decibels from 1,153 to 100. So there were some very clear reasons, and I could go on. It also did involve a benefit to densely populated communities which are currently overflown at lower altitudes.
Can I give you points for all of that?
Yes.
But there are still 2 flight paths, and if you look at the RNAV, and I look at the map with all the lines and the colours on it, the impact of the RNAV comes back even more. So those 150 or 98 that are being impacted by the RNP are reduced even more. That's what I'm interested in, and I still don't understand why we can't go back to where we started with the 1 flight path, which is largely over unpopulated areas and just completely minimise the impact. I'm not interested in the East Coast stuff. I think that you've made the right decision there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, uneducated, but having read your
Don't
material,
sell
I support
short,
it.
Senator. Huh? Don't sell yourself short. You're one of the most experienced ones.
But I still don't get why there has to be 2. Why couldn't we be running with the RNAV and really minimise the impact? Don't care about the airlines, don't care about that stuff. I mean, we pay for that in our airfares, get all that. But impact of the people who are under it every single day with the noise going over the top. I mean, I'll give you points for minimising it. I can see what you've done, but I still don't understand why there has to be 2 flight paths, given that the likelihood of 2 aircraft being past the Barvor at any one time is pretty much 0.
So, Senator, in relation to that, I'm going to have to defer to my colleague, Ms Marshall, who is the Head of Community Engagement, and if I could ask her to come to the table to
While you're
respond to that
deferring,
question.
I might just check Senator Colbeck as the regular member of the committee. We've got 8 other agencies. Are we on time?
I want to get
No, I'm not rushing
quick,
you.
and then we can go on to
Sure.
the next
and then
one.
we're going to have our break. But are we on time, or do we have to release anyone? To the best of your knowledge, have a think about it. Anyway.
I will think about
All
that.
right, Senator Colbeck.
I can make some executive decisions while my colleagues are away.
I'll make it for you.
Senator Donna Marshall, Head of Community Engagement with Air Services Australia. There's a couple of factors at play with why we've got the 2 flight paths. One is that they, as I briefly tried to explain last time, they serve different aircraft types. So the RNPAR, which is the shorter one, is used by aircraft that are equipped with that technology. And so because we have aircraft flying into Hobart that have that technology, as an air navigation service provider, we need to provide that. And so that's why we need to keep that one. There's another thing,
Yeah,
though,
but you can tell them where to go. I mean, and I'm not telling to rack off, but you can determine. They have the technology.
Yep.
GPS based. This is the path. You fly it. Right? That's the technology. Am I right?
Absolutely. And
so you can tell them where to fly.
Yeah. The other factor, though, is, and having just been in Hobart this weekend, the communities that are close to that RNAV alignment, they are not supportive of having the RNPAR even moved the 3 kilometres closer to them, because they're very low ambient noise communities. And so even though there's not a large population directly under the RNAV, there's communities that are within a certain distance of that RNAV procedure that every time a plane uses it, they can hear it. And so through the noise abatement procedure that we implemented last December, we've actually changed the balance of use of the flight paths. And so now that RNAV is getting around about 60% of all movements.
and the short approach, the AR, is getting about 40%. And the communities I spoke to last weekend that are subject to that RNAV, they're feeling that they're getting, excuse me, the bulk of the operations. And so for us to then
Well, they are, aren't they?
Well, they are. They're getting 60%. And so if we were then to just pick up the RMPAR and put it on the RNAV, not only would we be disbenefiting industry who have spent money to equip their aircraft to fly that procedure, but we'd also be putting all of the impact on one flight path. There's no noise sharing. It's all on one community.
So we annoy two lots of people instead of one. And as I said, I don't care about the airlines. I've had enough of them.
One of the principles that we have is to try and be equitable and share the noise where we can. That means one community gets more noise, the other less. That balance always ends up with some debate, and that's played out.
No, I get that.
But we do prioritise noise over aircraft benefits or airline benefits, particularly as they're coming into airports and the noise is major. As the flights are higher, there's more propensity to look at track miles and other benefits for the airlines. But that's how we try to balance that equation between the efficiency of flying, the flow-on cost of the community versus the noise for those who are overflown.
So, all right, I don't think I'm going to win anything here, but I would have preferred to have seen the documentation that you presented more accurately reflect the range that's available. So you put a 2K range across the line, and the regs say 3. It makes, when I look at it, I thought, gee, that looks pretty good. It looks way better. But if I make that line 3K, it really does start to have a big impact over more people. And I can understand why people might see that as misleading. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for the data on the water. Appreciate that. I'll make sure that my constituents get access to that information.
Okay, thank you, Senator Colbeck. Thanks very much. We'll let you escape for the night. It is that close to 9:10. We shall now break and come back at 9:25, I think, is on the... 9:25 with CASA. kick off, shall we? Thank you. Thank you very much. Just before we do go back to questions, it has been confirmed with me that the opposition are happy to release Dairy Australia from tomorrow's program. Nothing to do with you guys at the front there.
Yeah, just for the Hansard record, the opposition, as I understand it, didn't call Dairy Australia.
No.
Senator Roberts did, but he no longer.
Yeah, but I had to seek your approval, and you've given me that approval.
Thank you, Chair.
That's one down. All right, now let's get into it. Welcome, Casa. We're not going to ask for opening statements. We're running tight on time, so good to see you. And I'll go questions, Senator.
Yep.
Canavan, Mackenzie?
No, I don't have any questions, but maybe Jess, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
Senator
Jess.
Collins?
She's been waiting patiently.
You open the batting, off you go.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question's on the flight training issues for CASA. Do you accept that due to current regulations, pilots are now required to conduct 2 checks per year in each aircraft type that they fly? Is that correct?
Senator Pip Spence, CEO, Director of Aviation Safety, CASA. Yeah, we actually provided some information to Senator Colbeck from the last one, so yes, that what you said was correct.
So given it to me too. Okay, so given that some pilots can fly up to 4 different types, this would mean 8 checks per year. If you were, for example, to fly 4 different types of aircraft, you would have to do 8 checks per year. That's correct?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, Senator Andreas Marcellia, Executive Manager, Stakeholder Engagement and Flight Crew Licensing sits within my portfolio. So my understanding is that that twice yearly check is only required for commercial air transport operations, so it's not for everyone. And it's usually done as part of an operator's proficiency check. So an operator, an airline, would typically put their crew through those kind of checks. Whether it's on a specific aircraft type individually, I'd have to check for you, but it's generally done as part of an operator's program. So
the commercial pilots, if you're flying a different aircraft, for each aircraft you have to do 2 checks per year?
2 checks per year, air transport, yep.
Okay. Do you accept that on aircraft that are not supported by a simulator in the country, so if you don't have a simulator for that particular aircraft, pilots are forced to repeat dangerous simulated engine failure manoeuvres in every aircraft type that they fly, which multiplies the risk for pilots who operate more than one type?
Senator, I might see if my colleague, Mr Campbell, might have any information on that. The way that you're posing the questions, I wouldn't mind taking it on notice because we don't have the information in front of us, and I'm just worried we're going to say that it's exactly as you've described it, and we just need to, particularly around the actual numbers that we're talking about here. But I think Mr Campbell can certainly answer on the simulator question.
Yeah. Hi, Senator Steve Campbell, Executive Manager, National Operations and Standards. We've had in place for many years, which is an international standard, that above a certain size of aircraft, generally transport category aircraft, the requirement is to use simulators. That's standard. And below that, there's an option that if it's available in Australia, they can use it in Australia.
Okay. Simulators are very costly. My understanding is around $1 million for a simulator.
I'd say a lot more.
A lot more than that. So if you're a small general aviation company, you're not really going to be able to put your money into a simulator. So if you don't have access to a simulator, then you're going to have to do this in a real life situation.
Well, if
in a practice training situation.
Yeah, I think it depends what you're calling general aviation. So the smaller general aviation that we know at below 5,700 kilos won't be required to use simulators.
Yep.
But for other aircraft that are in that sort of scope that require simulator training, that's been in force for many decades.
Yep. So, but you are expected to repeat it twice a year to do these dangerous manoeuvres. That's correct?
The emergency training, yep.
Yes. Okay. So can you also confirm that in more than 20 years there have been 0 fatal real turbine engine failure accidents during takeoff or missed approach? So none in real life, but multiple fatalities during training.
I don't have that detail in front of me, sorry, Senator.
All right.
But
Senator, we'd be very happy if you've got a specific example that you would like us to provide more information on. We'd be very happy to take that on notice, because I don't think we do anything that's dramatically different to what other national aviation authorities do in this space. And we are genuinely, if there's specific examples you've got of where someone's got raised an issue with you, we'd be very happy to look into that into detail.
I do. I actually have a snapshot of some very specific examples of where pilots have died while doing these training checks. So in 1995, 2 pilots died doing a takeoff decision speed cut in Tamworth. In 2003, 2 pilots died doing a loss of control asymmetric practice in Bankstown. In 2010, 2 pilots died doing a simulated takeoff decision speed cut in Darwin. In 2017, 3 pilots died doing a simulated engine failure after takeoff in Renmark in South Australia. In 2019, 2 pilots died doing a simulated engine failure after takeoff in Mareeba in Queensland. And in 2025, just a few months ago, 2 pilots died doing a proficiency check. It's still under investigation. One was a very experienced training officer and another a commercial pilot. So in total, of the ones that I've been able to find on open source, it's 13 people that have died doing very risky manoeuvres as part of the training checks. And my understanding is that now they have to do more of them across a lot of different types of aircraft. So would you accept having the understanding of that, and also the understanding that, you know, pilots are dying practicing failures that almost never kill any pilots in real life, you know, you're forcing repeated exposure to known fatal risk manoeuvres, and that contradicts the requirements to reducing risk?
Senator, what I would say is I'd like to go through the details, go through the information in a bit more detail than that. I totally understand we lost one of our own CASA employees as one of those people that you mentioned in those numbers, so it is something we take very seriously and we have looked at it. There's I suppose with everything there is that need to make sure that people have had that proficiency checking, but I'm happy to go through the numbers that you've provided in a bit more detail and also explain why we're doing what we're doing. Take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. That does lead me to my next question, Ms Spence. Can you point to any evidence showing that repeating the same manoeuvres across aircraft types saves lives instead of risking them?
I don't have that with me, Senator, no.
Do you accept that piloting hand skills required to safely manage asymmetric flight and simulated engine failure manoeuvres are fundamentally the same across different aircraft types and systems?
And that's why I'd like to take the original answers we gave you and look at those just to make sure that we're not speaking at cross purposes about what we're actually requiring people to do.
Okay. Have you looked at modernising your training requirements? My understanding is that this legislation is based on technology, aircraft technology from the 1970s. Have you looked at modernising the legislation so that you can look at actually the safety features of the aircrafts that pilots are flying these days?
I think that it's an excellent suggestion. We're constantly looking to see how we can improve things. There's a lot of work that's being done through the International Civil Aviation Organisation, also looking at more competency-based training rather than repeating similar kind of activities. It's not the we don't have any obvious answers for the issues that you're raising, but we are always willing to engage with industry if they've got suggestions about how we can do things better.
Okay. And just to sort of come back to the question of notice that I submitted, have you ever counted the number of pilots killed in training while doing these exercises?
I don't have that number. And my colleague has pointed out to me that based on the information we've provided, there have been 4 accidents, and the four flights resulted in 8 fatalities.
Okay, so the numbers that I managed to get in open source was a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So is it the responsibility of CASA to be tracking this? I mean, these are pilots that are doing the things that you're asking them to do, and now more often, repeatedly every year. And look, these pilots are people with children.
Yeah.
Okay? They're people with children, and you're making them do more tests, and they're very, very risky tests. These single-engine go-arounds can kill them instantly. And it is, that this stuff happens in real life. It's almost zero chance. And you're making some of these pilots do it 8 times a year, and they have families.
Senator.
So if another pilot dies performing a mandatory simulated engine failure, will CASA accept responsibility for creating that risk?
Senator, we'll look at the information you provided. Obviously, it's always distressing when there are fatalities, and as I said, CASA felt it very strongly when we lost one of our own. And I totally understand what you're saying about real life. These are lives that, you know, they've lost their family, they've lost their future. We'll see what the ATSB recommends as a result of their investigation, which is currently underway for the most recent accident. And as I said, we'll look to see the details. But as we've said, we don't just make these things up to put people at risk.
Okay, thank you. I do have some questions on drones, but I might pass and then come back if we've got time.
Question to that, if that's right, Chair. So, I think it was about 18 months ago, I raised a specific issue about landing fields in the Torres Strait.
Yeah.
And CASA had made a change, not based on any demonstrated risk. And I warned then that somebody would die, and 3 weeks later somebody did. So I think what Senator Collins is raising is something, an issue that I think I would be saying we will stop this requirement immediately while we demonstrate that this is actually a safe requirement, as opposed to saying we're going to wait until somebody else it's the reverse, the onus of proof. So I would stop doing it immediately because, as you say, at least 8 people have died, possibly more. I think Senator Collins has raised a really serious issue that unless you can demonstrate why you would continue with this practice, you should stop immediately.
I would want to have a little bit more information. I'm not being disrespectful to the Senator, but I'm not going to make a call on the basis of a conversation here. I do take it very seriously, and the way the Senator's put it obviously makes me feel, you know, it's the challenge that those of us who work in CASA really feel very strongly, that we change something and someone dies because we've changed it the same way we don't change it and someone dies. It is an incredible balance that we are trying to
It seems
reach.
unlikely somebody would die from not having had a repeated test.
But the other side of it, Senator, is knowing someone is proficient in it might actually save their life. So
right, well,
there is the two sides.
Having lived through CASA refusing to take industry advice on something I raised and somebody died 3 weeks later, I'm with Senator Collins.
I hear you.
I think I would be saying to your team, you better prove to me why we should continue doing this.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you.
Now, are there any further ones bearing in mind we are tight for time? Is there any more questions?
Very quick ones for CASA. It'll be very quick. And I think there might be some others on drones. Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to check with you. We heard this morning confirmation of a letter from the Department of Finance, or Minister for Finance, I should say, seeking savings measures, reported to be at 5%. Has the Department, the Minister, the Minister's Office, anyone spoken to CASA about those potential savings?
No, Senator.
Are you exempt from these kinds of efficiency dividends?
We're not exempt from efficiency dividends, no, Senator.
Okay, so you're not sure yet whether this reported 5% cut will apply to yourselves?
No, Senator, though I do note that we are majority funded by industry through the fuel excise, so it would be a smaller proportion if it was a 5%.
So any efficiencies would typically only relate to the
government appropriations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roughly what proportion of that is of your budget?
Look, I think it's about $40 million in government appropriation out of a $220 million
about
budget.
20% or so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it there, but I think there was more questions on drones.
Yeah, I can just go very quickly through that. Thank you.
Yep.
Is that okay, Chair? Thank you very much. What is the process for regulating and approving drone manufacturers?
We had a great inquiry into this about 6 or 7 years ago.
And part of it will depend on the size of the drone that we're talking about, I think, as well, in terms of the certification process.
Generally speaking, the smaller drones, we don't regulate the manufacturing of them. Once you get up into the larger drones, which we call above 150 kilos, that's when you have to have the drone certified, and that's when all those sort of normal certification rules kick in.
Okay. Is there a difference between civil and military drone testing regulations?
I'm not aware of the defence requirements, but...
but in terms of you approving...
We don't approve defence drones, no.
No, okay. So even if the drones are used for both civil and military purposes, it's just civil? Okay.
Well, if it's by the Defence Force, the Defence Aviation Safety Authority.
Yeah, that's right. DASA.
DASA,
yeah. How long does it take to approve drone testing? And do you have any benchmarks or guidelines on how long that should take?
Drone testing.
Sorry, to approve the drone. To approve the drone for, it's got to get for the licence to be able to fly it, right? So that comes through you guys. You've got to be able to.
So I think Matt, I think that's going to.
Yeah. Good evening, Senator. Matthew Patel, Executive Manager, Regulatory Oversight. So I guess there's two sides to this. There's the drone certification, as my colleague Mr. Campbell mentioned, but in terms of approving or assessing and approving drone activity, that's I guess because of the variability in the kinds of drone applications that we get, it sort of depends, I guess, on what the activity is. Certain activities such as complex beyond visual line of sight can take some time, and that's not just the time spent with CASA, but also clarifying with the industry member as well. So it's a very large scale.
Okay.
We do have on our website now all our service level standards for all our regulatory services, including for RPAS drone operations. We're conscious of the fact that we're probably too slow, and we're working to see how we can actually reduce the amount of time. So just recently we introduced the beyond visual line of sight broad area approval, which allows an operator to actually, we approve them and then they can approve their BV loss operations, and that's been saving quite a bit of time and effort on our part.
So I have heard from a drone manufacturer in New South Wales, a couple of them actually, that you know, the approval times have been extraordinarily long, and it's putting significant pressure on the industry to be able to, you know, maintain. So I'm just wondering, is there an issue with the number of staff at CASA, or is it just that these things are too complex? How I mean, do you have a plan for speeding up the process? How does it?
Yeah, so I think this is, as Mr. Butel was saying, I think it's more around the RPAS operators rather than manufacturers we're hearing this more from. It's a combination of significant growth in the number of RPAS operators in Australia. You know, we now have more people with a remote pilot licence compared to traditional aircraft pilots, doing lots of new things that we haven't seen before. So each time you get an application in, and the first time you're actually dealing with it takes a lot of time, and as we get more familiar with it, I think we've got some questions about what do we actually need to do to support safe outcomes, as opposed to this is the way we've always done it. So between Mr. Butel and Mr. Campbell, we're looking at what are the ways that we can actually reduce the things that we actually need to provide approvals on, and how we can actually approve the operator and let them then making sort of more of those operational decisions. But our first point was actually, well, let's be upfront with industry and tell them how long it's actually taking us at the moment to help them plan around it.
Okay, thank you. That's it from me. I just, on the first issue, I was just wondering whether, you know, sort of follow up to all of that, whether you'll be getting back to us on those issues, and whether you're going to pause, you know, review the process and train and so forth.
We'll look at it. We'll look at it quickly. I do take it very seriously.
Thank you. So before Christmas, will it be?
We'll try as we can. We'll certainly be talking about it, and if there's any changes, I'll make sure that we let this committee know.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Okay, that's it for CASA. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, we now call Infrastructure Australia via video conference. All right, gentlemen, welcome. I won't go to offering you opening statement because we are a bit tight for time. So thanks very much for joining us.
They do need to identify themselves, though.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was only me that couldn't read that far. Just identify yourselves, please, gentlemen.
Adam Cobb, Chief Executive, Infrastructure Australia.
Great.
David Tucker, I'm Chief of Project Advisory and Evaluation.
Thank you.
And Steve Rogan, Chief of Policy and Research.
Right, thank you very much. Questions?
We need more gender diversity, guys. What's the current status of IA's consultation with states and territory governments regarding the revised infrastructure priority lists? Have all states and territories submitted their priority list?
Almost all states and territories have submitted their priorities.
Who hasn't?
We're still waiting on some information from New South Wales.
Okay, thank you. Were they all on time?
Some came on our original deadline and others needed a little bit more time in order to bring together their submissions.
Thank you. Has IA finalised your infrastructure priority list?
No, Senator. We have only received information as late as last week, but we are going through a process of taking a strategic top-down analysis around the country and also using the bottom-up submissions from the states and territories.
And so when do you hope to have your 26-27 budget process list ready?
So we provide advice through the budget process, so that's through all of the submissions that come through from the states and territories to the Australian government, and that is separate to our infrastructure priority list process. We are hoping to use some of the information that we've developed in the upcoming budget process, but that will be guided by us getting all the submissions that we need.
Okay. And so when will you be releasing your infrastructure priority list?
In the first quarter of 2026.
Ooh, that's exciting. Before budget day?
Yes, that's our
Yes, excellent. Will the new infrastructure priority list include projects that have existing Commonwealth funding commitments, or is it only for projects not yet funded?
We're still working through some of the policy handling of particular projects, so I can't say one way or another right now.
So how will the priority list be reflected in the annual budget statement to be provided to government that informs infrastructure investment as required by the new IA Act?
I know that your preference is to have priority list projects in the budget statement, and we're still working through what will be contained in the budget statement. It is guided by some of the analysis that we do in the priority list.
Okay, thank you. Just to the Olympic rollout, has Infrastructure Australia undertaken any assessment of the government's ability to deliver the Olympic infrastructure pipeline, given we've got a workforce deficit of 300,000 by 2027?
So the market capacity analysis that we do each year does take into consideration the projects that states and territories have committed to. So any Olympics projects that have been publicly committed to would be within that analysis. So I might refer Mr. Brogan if you wanted to talk to anything specifically or timing of what we've done in our analysis.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you go.
Okay, in relation to that particular question, our analysis is out until 2029. It does include projects that have been announced to date that are within that 5-year period from now until then. And it amounts to something like less than $10 billion of a $240 billion pipeline.
Okay. Is our Infrastructure Australia concerned about the risk of supply chain congestion in Queensland leading up to 2032? And what recommendations have you made to avoid critical inputs shortages?
There is an issue with supply chain congestion right around the country. There's a lot of infrastructure work that's going on whether it's Westport in WA or major transport projects in the southern states. We have made some recommendations in regards to boosting material supply, particularly around steel, but in particular we've called out the need to better use tools like our market capacity analysis to map out what the supply chain needs are. So we are working with, for instance, the West Australian Government, particularly on that in relation to the supply chain needs for Westport and some of the other defence projects that are going on in that location.
This morning, the Infrastructure Secretary confirmed Minister King has received a letter from Minister Gallagher around savings measures across departments and agencies. Has Minister Gallagher written to Infrastructure Australia?
No, Senator.
Has Minister King written to Infrastructure Australia?
No, Senator.
Has Minister King spoken to Infrastructure Australia about identifying savings for the upcoming budget process? Not in projects?
No.
Okay. What would 5% of Infrastructure Australia's budget look like?
It would be roughly $900,000.
Okay. And you're able to absorb that easily?
We haven't been asked to absorb that, Senator.
Well, I'm asking you. Can you absorb that
we
easily?
would have to we would have to reprioritise what we're doing, of course.
Okay. What if you had to nominate your lowest priorities? What would they be?
We would probably first look at contracted services spend and retain staff and seek to deliver the work program with existing staff resources.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of questions on behalf of Senator James McGrath on the suburban rail loop. Have you seen any of the wealth of information, direct quote, Jacinta Allen says her government has provided to the Albanese government?
We executed our responsibility to assess the business case this year, and we did make some recommendations for further information that Victorian Government should provide. As I said earlier, we are providing advice through the budget process, which is a normal process, and that includes advice around Victoria's request for funding.
Is this advice around the request for an additional $9 billion?
So it is known, said today, that the Victorian Government asked for $9.3 billion through the budget. So consistent with our normal process, advising on the budget, we are advising on that.
Senator McGrath wants to know what discussions have you had with the Minister or her office about the suburban rail loop?
Our advice has mostly been through the department and to the department in regards to suburban rail loop. I can't think of a particular example where it hasn't been.
Okay. Have you provided updated advice to the government regarding the project?
No, we're currently going through the budget process at the moment.
Thank you. No further questions.
I just have some questions. Sorry, some follow-ups from this morning. I asked this morning about the national carbon values that are applied in infrastructure assessments. I was referred to yourselves. Do you have carbon values that you apply to infrastructure projects?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. What are the values?
The number? It's $56
per tonne.
Per tonne.
Obviously, some of these infrastructure projects, MPVs, go over many decades. Do you have a projection for the carbon values going forward?
That it is projected over time, and it goes out to 2050.
Okay, what's the value in 2050?
$377.
Wow, $377 carbon tax, great. Okay, what's the value in 2035? Have you got that?
2035 is 234, but it's not a cost that is paid by a state government or.
But the point I made this morning, is it does penalise projects that inherently are carbon intensive, especially those made perhaps in regional areas where the cost benefits are usually quite marginal. So this would tip it once you apply these massive carbon taxes on it.
It does have an impact on the benefit-cost ratio, but that is one aspect of what decision makers look at in our evaluations, at least. So
I don't think we should look at it at all. I think it's going to be my next recommendation. Follow to the party room. Scrap them all. Let's just focus on building better roads. All right, I'll leave it there. I don't want to. Sorry to cut you off, but I realise it's very late, so maybe we can come back. So I did want to ask more about it, but it's gotten very late. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, to officers from Infrastructure Australia, thank you. We now call the NAIF, the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility, via video conference. And we do know that they have tabled their opening statement, and they're not there. Not there yet. Are ARTC and Inland Rail in the room or in the back room? Do we know? All right, we've scared off NAIF.
The department is supposed to be coordinating them and making sure they all...
I know, NAIF is here. No, that's ARTC.
That's NAIF there. That's NAIF on the screen.
Where's NAIF? Oh, sorry, NAIF's just turned up on the screen. Sorry about that. Who'd have thunk that, eh? All right, welcome Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility. We do have your opening statement, thank you, but time is a little bit tight, so we'll go straight to questions. Thank you. Question, Senator McDonald.
Chair. And Mr Doyle, good evening. Is this your last estimates this time, do you think?
Good evening, Senator. I was hoping it was, but I believe there might be something in February, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, we love having you come to estimates, you know that, so.
Sorry, we should get you to identify yourselves. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Craig Doyle, Chief Executive Officer of Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility.
Yep. And there's other people on the screen, sorry.
Yes, Chair.
Alicia Tubbick, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at NAIF.
Thank you. Gentlemen. Hello. All right.
Just on mute. You're on mute.
Like the Mars bar ad.
Am I audible?
Yeah, that's it. Good. Yes.
Yep. Raveen Sritharan, Chief Risk Officer.
Thank you. Senator McDonald, I think that's about it. Go for it.
We'll just assume that we know Mr Land is on screen as well. Mr Doyle, congratulations on the recent announcement to extend...
Yes. Raveen Sritharan, Chief Risk Officer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Land.
Senator McDonald, that's about it. Go for it.
We'll just assume that we know Mr Land is on screen as well.
Oh, right.
Mr Doyle.
Okay, you just need to mute your sound, please, everyone. We're getting feedback. That was you, Macca.
And it's the delay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Senator McDonald.
Mr Doyle, congratulations on the recent announcement to extend NAIF for a further 10 years. I want to ask you what impact that will have on the operations, given that you did have a wind-up date by the end of June next year. How's that going to change your operations?
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, the 10 years is excellent for staff and for project proponents to know that we've got some certainty around that. We weren't seeing a lot of uncertainty from our proponents, but it definitely is positive that people know that subject to legislation passing, that we do have a long runway now to continue to invest in the north.
What changes will it make to your operations, though?
Look, obviously the people will have some surety past the 30th of June, Senator, which we've been planning for. We could just embed some of those other things. We've been moving the IT services and finance away from EFA, which has been something we've been working on for a while, so it just gives some certainty around all of that.
All right. Are you expecting an increase in the $7 billion that you've got currently committed?
At the moment, we're appropriated, as you would know, for $7 billion. We've got commitments at the moment for $4.3 billion, Senator. So our pre-pipeline at the moment has 28 projects in it on a loan value of $2.9 billion. Obviously, we don't expect all of them to make them through. So at the moment, we're probably fine for the $7 billion, and hopefully we get a lot more investment decisions and put pressure on that $7 billion, and I'll be sure that my replacement will be seeking some more funding if that gets to that point.
All right. Is your funding for the NAIF, for the staff and administration, does that come from the $7 billion commitment?
No, we have a separate operating appropriation, Senator, of around $22 million. $22 million, sorry, not billion. $22 million.
Per annum?
Yeah, per annum, yes.
Given there will be two further reviews... Right. Given there will be two further reviews of the NAIF over the next 10 years, have the recommendations of the review as tabled in Parliament in August this year been implemented?
We haven't heard back since the task force. Obviously, there was an announcement from the Minister last week in the annual statement around the 10 years. We haven't had any further information back as yet from government on the other recommendations, Senator.
Okay. Given that we are short of time, I'm going to ask you that you table your current portfolio of decisions, of made decisions across each jurisdiction, and can you give me an indication of the pipeline projects across jurisdictions as well? Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Do you want that now? Or
No, take it on notice, please, because we're short of time. So the new CEO, has that been approved by... Is that going to be a cabinet decision?
My understanding, it's been through the board and that's with the government. I understand that the announcement is imminent, so I believe that's not too far away, Senator.
Terrific. Will the new CEO be based in Cairns?
That's my understanding, but obviously I haven't been involved in that process.
Okay, thank you. Can you give me the current FTE of NAIF and where they're all based, please?
Absolutely. So as of the end of November, a day or so, we have 56 FTE, 27 are based in Cairns, 2 in Townsville, just increase that up 1. We now have 5 in Darwin, 6 in Perth, 2 in Brisbane and 14 in Sydney.
How's that compared with the same time last year?
In June 24, if I can use that one if it's okay, we had 51 staff, we had 25 in Cairns, so we've got more in Cairns now. Same in Townsville, we've got 2 extra in Darwin than we had then. We have 1 more in Perth, 1 less in Brisbane, and about the same in Sydney as this time in June last year, Senator.
Terrific. Okay. I have no further questions, Chair. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. No further? Okay. You have got, sorry? No, thank you. Okay, for our NAIF officers, thank you very much. Travel safe. And we'll now call Australian Rail Track Corporation and Inland Rail. Welcome. I'm not going to go down the path of an opening statement at this time of night, so we'll just go straight to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Senator McKenzie.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I am wanting to know, has Minister King spoken to either of you about savings reductions within the ARTC?
Senator, thanks for the question. No. In terms of our budget and our costs, we recoup the costs from our access fees across industry. We don't have appropriation from the government in terms of the operating costs of the business.
So they can't come to you to find savings?
Well, I'm sure they can, but we did adjust our cost base and redistribution of the asset in 2024, and I might just ask Mr Zambelli as well. Sorry, I didn't identify myself. Wayne Johnson, the CEO and MD at ARTC.
Thanks for the question, Senator. Same as Wayne, we haven't had a direct question on savings. We are working within our approved project works and continue to do that over the coming years.
Are you subject to the 1% efficiency dividend? Not at all, given that financial arrangement. Okay. I wanted to look at support for local suppliers. How much does the ARTC spend annually on paper products across the organisation, and how much of that is sourced from Australian producers?
Senator,
Can't do that anymore.
Sorry, Senator, thanks for the question. I'll have to take it on notice and get you the detail. We have kept track of that, so we'll take it on notice.
No worries. Do you have the full complement of board members?
Yes, we do.
And what is the maximum board tenure?
The maximum is a series of terms, as in 2 terms before a special circumstances could be approved, and those terms aren't at that point. We've got new contingent of directors with an ARTC board earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding is the chair and the deputy chair both expire in January 2026. Is that correct?
Thank you. I can't remember the exact date. I think it was maybe February, Senator.
Okay. And is it your understanding those appointments will just be rolled over?
I'm not at liberty to talk about what the government's process or decision will be, but no doubt there's decisions to make in the course of the next month.
Well, let's hope they don't all go on holidays. Induction sessions. In answer to question 71 from October estimates, Inland Rail said it was continually reviewing site induction processes, and then notes each head contractor have their own induction processes. Can I understand what the difference is between continually reviewing and letting head contractors to do their own inductions?
Thanks for the question.
Are we having double inductions?
No, we're not. No, we're not.
That would be really frustrating.
So at the last Senate estimates, you were talking about workforce at Wangaratta, then moving to Euroa.
Yep.
They're different contractors on different contracts.
Yes.
So they're required to do a site-specific and a project induction with each of those principal contractors. So that's the answer to your question at last estimates. They need to do those under workplace health and safety legislation, and there's also rail safety inductions that contractors need to do when they're working in the rail corridor.
Since last estimate, has Inland Rail engaged with the nominated head contractors, McDowell, Dow and John Holland, on the concerns raised at last Senate estimates, which come from experienced contractors, as I outlined?
Yes, we have since the last estimates. McConnell Dow, just for the record, have actually finished construction on Tranche 1, so that project is now complete. We did ask our contractor John Holland on Tranche 2 whether there'd been any adverse, industrial issues, and we've had confirmed in writing that that has not been the case on Tranche 2.
So what percentage of the site induction material is exactly the same for subsequent Inland Rail site inductions in relation to each head contractor?
I'd have to take that on notice because each of the contractors would have a different induction program, and then when the contractors are working in the rail corridor, the different asset owners have different inductions like V-Line, ARTC, etc. So I'd have to take that on notice to answer that accurately.
I just had some follow-up questions with Frost Street pedestrian underpass in Euroa. Could you provide a full comparative costing and impact assessment between maintaining the Frost Street pedestrian underpass structure, including decommissioning costs of the temporary access that's now set to be delayed till next year?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question? Is that of the works we're now building?
Yes, but also the decommissioning. So as I understand it, you're constructing an underpass that does meet access requirements.
At the station in Hanbury Street, we're building 2 new underpasses, that's right.
Yeah, but you're upgrading the current Frost Street underpass, which isn't part of your final project, but you're going to make it safe while you do all the work, and then you're going to decommission that, despite the community being very happy for that to stay. And I'm just wondering how much that will cost, the decommissioning piece.
Can I take that on notice?
Yes, you can. I think it's increasingly evident that Council was not provided with the level of detail required to make an informed decision because Inland Rail changed the scope of the project, didn't you, from the original?
Yeah, so at the
that
last...
That wasn't a decision of council, it was a decision of Inland Rail.
Our design evolves over time.
I'm sure it does.
And over
it wasn't the council's decision to change Inland Rail's scope.
We work with a lot of the different agencies and road authorities to come up with the optimal solutions. We did that for about 12 months in this case with the council. So it's a collaborative discussion on design that we have with our councils.
Are you trying to tell me the council asked you to change the scope?
No, I didn't say that, but I said...
Okay, I just want clarity.
No, but we work very closely with the councils.
Yes, but at some point, someone has to be the decision maker.
And in this case, the asset is owned by the council.
And post-scope changes?
They're still owned by the council. A lot of the assets that we design are owned by third parties.
So what is the timeline for opening of this stage of the project?
In terms of Euroa Station, that would be towards the end of 26. So that would include that'd include the station underpass that we're talking about.
Have you conducted any formal assessment of the social and economic impacts of removing the Frost Street underpass?
No, we have not.
Is Inland Rail willing to reconsider including the Frost Street pedestrian upgrade as part of the Beveridge to Albury section of the Inland Rail project?
We have finished the design on the project. We're into construction. We'll be finished next year. We're not looking to change the design.
No further questions.
Just quickly ask.
Yep, Senator Kennedy.
Thank you. Sorry. Just to check both. I presume Horizon and Pacific National are large customers of yours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Both of those companies are subject to the safeguard mechanism. Have you looked at the risk to your business of those companies having to increasingly pay a larger burden for emissions reduction?
We work with the customers, including the two that you mentioned there, that have been participating in that safeguard mechanism. I think fair to say the overall cost to our customers and their competitiveness is in focus for us and themselves, Senator?
Well, just a bit concerning given post-2030 the government's considering extending the decline rates as per the recommendation of the Climate Change Authority. If they are applied to reach 67% reduction, they could be up to almost 8% a year reductions in carbon emissions. Do you know if those customers how are they currently achieving these reductions? Is it largely through carbon offsets, or can they do much in the trains itself to reduce emissions?
Both the organisations you talk about have invested differently, but in their own technologies to increase fuel efficiency primarily, and I know that they both have a capital intensive program for that. Obviously, the added benefit is that they are cleaner and lower emissions vehicles, what they're investing in. It really is a matter for them to talk directly around the impact on them as on their bottom line.
It does, of course, come at a cost. Have you looked at any analysis? Have you done any analysis on the issues for rail freight here? Given that I don't believe any road freight companies are covered by the safeguard mechanism.
Yeah, it's a good question, Senator.
There's one.
One is there? Sorry. Okay, one.
There is one. I think fair to say that the Freight on Rail Group have focused on that as an entity, and they are working together and have presented and continue to present to government on what the options are around that. And I think that has been expressly it's been listened to in terms of the feedback they provided.
Are you proposing that your proposal to government that road freight companies should be included in the safeguard mechanism?
No, Senator.
Okay. Can you share what are your proposals to government then? To deal with the issue?
I think at the moment most of the feedback from the group itself, not necessarily directly ARTC, has been about is there any fine-tuning opportunities with the mechanism itself, and I'm not at liberty to talk about obviously decisions on that, but that's where the feedback has been.
All right, maybe we should just scrap it all together. Thank you. Thanks very much.
All right, gentlemen, travel safe. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the new year.
Good to see you. We will leave a statement, entry statement, with the departure of the chair of Inland Rail, Robert Rust, who had to retire from due health, and just recognise his contribution to the project. We'll send that in.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's, now we'll call High Speed Rail Authority.
Oh, yeah. Don't know. It's a sensible question. You should raise it at your pre-section.
Welcome, gentlemen. And we will go straight to questions. Okay. Senator Canavan and Senator McKenzie.
Thank you. Hi, gents.
Good evening, Senator.
Since we last spoke, you're so chipper. Wish I felt that way. Since we last spoke, Infrastructure Australia has released its evaluation report on the business case for the Newcastle to Sydney section. As part of IA's recommendation to proceed to a 2-year development phase for the project, they've suggested a more detailed analysis of the change in greenhouse gas emissions and the cost of environmental approvals rising from the Newcastle to Sydney project. Do you anticipate that this project will cost more because of the cost of environmental approvals and an analysis of the change in greenhouse gas emissions as suggested by Infrastructure Australia?
I don't think at this stage we don't think so. When we did the business case, we actually assumed that we'd be using low carbon materials.
Like what?
So things like green concrete.
Green concrete. How far away is green concrete?
It already exists. It's already been used on Sydney Metro.
Yeah. So why aren't you? So are you? So why hasn't Infrastructure Australia assumed that you're using green concrete?
It's the way they do their methodology. So their methodology for evaluation, basically they take the amount of concrete and they assume it's not, you've done no green or anything else. So what we did is we built into our cost estimate environmentally, if you like, friendly approach, and then we used the delta.
And so green concrete, what about green steel? Were you going to use green steel?
There is some green steel, but it's not widely available. But what we can also do is it's not just the concrete, it's actually the amount. So one of the things that we'd be looking at is actually making the infrastructure as small as possible, because that's actually the way you actually reduce your carbon imprint.
But wouldn't have IA known that was how you'd constructed your project?
That's the proposition we put to them, but their methodology for all projects assumes that may or may not be adopted.
But and it's not because they know that
it's just a method.
That the supplies that you're wanting to use aren't available at the cost you've assumed?
I can't answer that. I think...
Infrastructure Australia, if you're still listening, I will be sending some questions on notice.
So from our perspective, they have a price of carbon, and they pointed out that we didn't use their methodology. And so that's why they've said that our carbon price was understated. Our position was that what we did is we built into our price the use of an economic and environmentally friendly type construction, which has been used on other projects I've worked on, and we took the delta. So it's just a different method.
And what about the cost of environmental approvals along the route that you would need?
We've made some allowance, but as you're aware, one of the big costs of our project is tunnelling, and that is principally to avoid the environmental impact of going through a national park. So in other words, the design itself has already mitigated a lot of the risk. We haven't gone through the planning approval process. So what we did is we took, if you like, similar environmental conditions from other projects and used that to try and gauge how much money would be needed, and that was put into the pricing.
So the green steel, the green concrete and generating renewable energy that you included in your proposal, did you assume this would expect to drive up the cost of the projects?
There is some incremental cost if you use those type of materials. But as I said, the principal way
What's the cost comparator between the supplies that IA would have been assessing your project proposal against and what you submitted?
So I've got that figure somewhere. Okay, so basically, I think we've got the prices from Mr. Copp before. With no intervention or mitigation, construction of the project produced 3.7 million tonnes of carbon dioxide. We developed the net zero roadmap. That's not a net zero in construction. It's a roadmap to get as close as we can, and that led to a reduction of 2.4 million tonnes, equivalent to 64%.
So you're only producing 1.3 million tonnes?
Yes. And so the way
you priced that as at what?
So the way we did it, we monetarised so we chose to monetise the residual carbon, and we included the cost of what we were proposing into our business case.
And so just the 2.4 that you saved, million tonnes of carbon, what was the difference in the cost of the concrete between the green version and the regular? Green steel and the regular?
Can I take that one on notice and come back to you?
Please.
Yeah, I'm very happy to come back
Please
to you.
do.
Yes.
I'd appreciate it. Senator Canavan, you're itching.
Just a question. Does any of your green concrete use fly ash?
Yes.
Right. Where does fly ash come from?
Usually from power stations.
What type of power stations?
Coal power stations.
So you can't make the green concrete without coal-fired power stations?
I think there's other materials, but again, I'll have to take that on notice. I'm not a concrete expert, but certainly...
Thank you. Thank you would suffice. Thank you, Cole.
No,
thank you, Cole, for
I'm
making
just giving you an honest
concrete.
answer.
No, honest answers. That Anthony Albanese's pet project, high-speed rail to Newcastle, can only be delivered if coal-fired power stations stay open.
And if they don't, we'll import it from Indonesia.
That is not a fair statement, Senator.
Well, I don't know.
Senator, what I said to you was I'm not a concrete expert, and I will come back to you. You asked me about fly ash, and you said, where's the most common source of fly ash?
Well,
I gave
took
you
a little while to get there.
Honest response.
It took a little while to get there.
You didn't want to say it.
You didn't want to say the C word.
C word. All right, now,
Can I just one follow-up? Are you proposing to use any concrete or cement materials from Indonesia?
There's no plan to. Usually, most of the concrete in Australia is made in Australia.
Well, I'm hearing lately a lot is coming in from Indonesia. Have you assessed the cost of Indonesia? Yes, Senator Colbeck's nodding his head. Have you assessed the cost comparison of Australian cement or concrete options compared to Indonesian?
No, we haven't.
Okay, that's okay, but this is a real problem.
And one of the other assumptions was green steel. We just sort of skipped over that.
Yeah, what I was saying to you is a number of measures, and I'm happy to come back.
Because you've accounted 2.3 million tonnes of carbon that you are minimising in the project that IA isn't accepting. So can you get the green steel?
You can get it.
Is it really expensive?
I will need to come back and give you the answer. But as I said, the fundamental thing that we're looking at is actually reducing the amount of build. And that's really what we're looking at.
And it's like the best way to reduce emissions is to shift people out of cities and put them in the country, but no one wants that kind of plan. Thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Sorry about the lateness.
Thank you, Mr Parker. That was really, really good to hear. Sorry.
Did you want a question?
I was just going to ask on the cost comparison, is it possible to apply AI's penalty rate, if you like, to the two options? So what your cost of carbon is?
Yeah, we can. What we can do is, as Mr. Copp said, they have a price of carbon.
Yeah.
And so you can apply that, and then
Or you can use your method.
Or we can. What we've said is we can actually reduce the amount of carbon by using different techniques and methodologies, which is what we plan to do, and that's what we've done. But I can give you the details of the cost, so you can get a feel for what that actually means.
And with respect to the cement use and its source, are there suppliers that have lower carbon footprint cement making in Australia? I know one supplier quite well that's using a range of other things, converting from coal to industrial waste.
There's a range of different suppliers, and the concrete mix is something that they've got some proven mixes already, and then they're now pushing the envelope on can they push the green concrete further. Yeah. But happy to come back and give you a bit more
bulk of what you're doing is on, say, a smaller profile on the sleepers, which will save concrete.
Yeah, and things for us is can we optimise things like the segment thickness of the tunnel linings. Again, if you take 50 mil off that over so many kilometres, you save a lot of carbon.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Parker and Mr. Alcantara, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we'll now go to the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator. And I will declare, I wasn't here last time, but I have worked very closely with the NHVR over many years. Mr. Sal Petrosito has been an absolute diamond to work with, and I know he's moved on. Miss Rosie, it was a pleasure to meet you the other day. Your CV is extraordinary. So those massive... You're making horse noises. I hope it wasn't horse noises I heard. Miss Rosie, as I said, your CV looks impeccable, and I look forward to working with you. And Mr. Smith, thank you for everything that you've helped over the years. Now, questions?
Thank you, Chair.
Senator McKenzie.
There seems to be what I believe a misconception amongst some in the transport industry that the NHVR is responsible for the new age-based requirements for medical checks of truck drivers. There have been calls to my office on this issue, and I hope you can clear the matter up. Various issues have been raised. Drivers over 50 with high blood pressure required by their employers to undertake a medical test to the satisfaction of the NHVR every 6 months. Drivers over 60 years are required to undertake a medical. Drivers holding dangerous goods licence over 50 years are required to take periodic medical tests. And there are requirements to use only certain doctors primarily located in capital cities. Now, these have all been raised with me as the Shadow Minister and a regional senator. Everyone's blaming you. Would you like to take the opportunity to clear the record?
Oh, good evening, everybody. Look, the NHVR does not have any of rules associated with fitness for work yet. That is proposed in the Heavy Vehicle National Law Reform. But there is a duty on operators to ensure fitness for work of their drivers. And I suspect that's the basis on which a number of those assessments are being undertaken. Under the new law coming in, there is a fitness for work new requirement which allows NHVR to look at fitness for work on the side of the road. We are currently looking at how we will interpret that legislation as it comes in. The way to think about that, though, is as the primary duty is on the employer to ensure fitness for work, we'd anticipate that would be primarily happening by the operator or in the workplace. We will be primarily there should the driver raise concerns about their health and wellbeing on the side of the road. We're not doing any sort of drug testing. We're not looking at having them touch their toes or do some sort of medical assessment on the side of the road. This is really about us being able to act if we feel, one, that the driver's raised an issue and would like our help, but two, if we see someone on the side of the road that is clearly not capable of driving, the new fitness for work requirement would allow us to I guess, stop them from driving or at least get some help.
So, but you are aware of the concerns in the sector?
We are, and it largely relates to the new law, and the new law has got a fitness for work requirement, which includes fatigue, but other types of fitness for work, and we are aware that the industry is very concerned. So we are proposing to do an education campaign on that. Okay,
and once that law is in place in all jurisdictions, will you be regulating that?
Yes.
You will then be regulating the fitness for work?
the law enables us, there's a new fitness for work test, if you like, or
and that's going to be your job.
It allows us to look at fitness for work on the side of the road, but we are not anticipating, to be very, very clear, the intention of the law as it was designed was really about drivers who had concerns about their own health and wellbeing and fitness for work, and to be able to put their hand up and when they see one of our assessors on the side of the road and say, look, I don't feel like I'm fit, but I'm being asked to drive. So we see it being predominantly used in that way. There is no ability for us under the law as proposed to do any form of testing. Fitness.
So there's no star jumps going to be required by the NHVR on the side of the road. And you state the intention, but could one of the unintended consequences be that NHVR ends up doing the compliance on this piece of the law?
Well, I think if anything, we'd be looking more heavily at the operator level. That's where the primary duty sits. So the primary duty under the legislation sits with the operator to ensure fitness for work of the driver. So I think if there is examples of drivers turning up on the side of the road that look very unfit, we obviously will need to act if it's a very unsafe situation. But our desire would be primarily to deal with the operator and to ensure they're meeting their obligations. And just to say, one of the ways they might meet those obligations would be to do some form of annual health checks or fitness for work testing. So I suspect a lot of those drivers are more worried about what their employing operator or people up the supply chain are doing rather than what NHVR is doing.
Okay, I'll leave that stand. Do you know of any state jurisdictions that apply age-based medical requirements for truckies?
I'm not aware of any. Steve, are you aware of any? You're on mute, Steve.
No, you're still on mute.
Still on mute, Steve.
There's 2 mutes, Steve.
No, mate. Have I told you I hate this technology?
We'll come back to you on that one, Senator.
Well, I would prefer to have you in front of me so I could hear Steve. Whereabouts are you located?
Brisbane.
Brisbane? In future, I think we'd love to see you face to face. Steve, can you say V for Victoria, W for WA? Do you know, nod if there's any jurisdictions that have state, but there are. Right.
No.
Can you draw the letter on the bit of paper, honestly?
Can you do semaphore?
You can phone. Steve, you can phone in, mate.
Phone a friend. Okay, hang on. We'll get this.
New South Wales.
Okay.
Can't read it.
Just higher. Put it up higher. No, Nellie got it. On notice. Oh, come on, Steve. You know the answer. This is why we need you in front of us. It may be the case that some businesses have concerns about the health of certain drivers and are merely using the NHVR as an excuse when they feel they need to seek medical assurance about how fit to drive an employee may be to protect both their staff, their assets, other road users, other OH&S requirements. I mean, if an employer has concerns about the fitness of one of their staff, how do we protect them from issues from the employee? So, you know, you might need to think about eating the healthy meals at BP, etc.
Yeah. I mean, this is a challenging issue, I think, because we have got an ageing workforce.
But how will this be treated? How will it be treated under the Fair Work Act if an employer says to an employee, you're clearly overweight, etc., you're unfit, I'm seeing you huffing and puffing around the yard when you have to tie loads on. Like, how is that going to be assessed under the Fair Work Act? if the employee...
I can't answer that question.
Well,
for you.
but you're
We're not.
like we're going off with the...
I can. As part of you have to have fitness for duty as part of your accreditation and your fatigue management. I'm not picking a fight with you, I'm telling you.
No, but I'm just...
The problem we got here is the
know what a yard is.
NTC. No, but the NTC, you guys are just administering the law, correct? It is the NTC that has worked with the health industry to come up with these guidelines, and they're not fit for purpose. It is one bloody size fits all, and in all fairness to the NTC who are on next, they have shown indications where they would like to work with us, but the industry's got to get off its backside and get in there and work with them. Sorry, I'm just telling you because it frustrates the living daylights out of me.
You should be a minister, still.
So anyway.
Send him in.
Sorry, questions?
It's not our decision. Thank you so much. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Miss Rosie. Thank you, Steve, even though we couldn't hear. It's the quietest you've ever been, mate, all the years we've known you, ever since you were with Barry O'Sullivan. So anyway, travel safe, all the best. We'll catch you in the new year. Thank you. Thanks very much. Now call the National Transport Commission.
NTC looks like they're there.
I will have a quick question for the NTC, but I'll go last. I'm happy to wrap up there. So, welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. NTC, do you have the full complement of board members? Steve won't be able to answer that, but he's on the phone. We still can't hear you, Steve. Wow.
What's happened to NTC? Are they there?
Okay. He has as much ICT experience as Barry O'Sullivan.
Okay. He has more, trust me. National Transport Commission not there?
They were.
Western Sydney Airport, are they?
Yeah, Western Sydney Airport, are you there?
Anyone online?
Lady called up earlier, another member was there.
I think we've proved the point here.
Not yet.
They were what? We've got an SC, whoever SC is. Oh, hello.
Good evening, Senator. It's Shelley Cole,
Oh.
Chief Financial Officer of Western Sydney Airport.
Great, well, thank you.
Hello. Yep, first in, best dress. And we're having technological problems. So, look, welcome, Miss Cole. Is your CEO far away? Because we want to start questions.
My CEO is actually, he's on leave at this...
Yes, we
knew about this one. We were informed. Yeah. Okay, all right, Ms Cole, you're in the hot seat. So we'll go straight to questions. Senator Mackenzie?
Okay, hello.
Someone else is online.
Do we have any passenger airline locked in on paper for day one of opening? Hello, Ms Cole?
Ms Cole, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes.
I think I can hear you now.
Great.
Apologies.
That's right,
No,
Senator Mackenzie.
Not yours.
And we've got someone else online too.
We've got multiple... Who's who?
No, the gentleman in the corner at the top. Yeah, they're NTC down the bottom. But the gentleman at the top, sorry, nodding.
Really
if you just want to identify yourself. You're on mute. Is that Mr. Martin Jones?
Mr. Martin Jones is the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer of Western Sydney Airport.
Okay, so he's Western Sydney. Matt Duffy.
Ask the other witnesses to...
And Matt Duffy is the Chief Operating Officer of Western Sydney Airport.
Right.
All right.
And the guy with the purple tie?
And we'll just ask the
NTC.
NTC, could you just turn off, please, because the state of the crap in here is, anyway, doesn't work. We'll come back to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Senator Mackenzie, would you like to start again?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Western Sydney Airport. Which passenger airlines are locked in on paper ready to start flying for day one of your opening?
So we currently have 4 airlines with agreements with Western Sydney International. We have Qantas, Jetstar, Singapore Airlines and Air New Zealand.
Excellent. So all signed up?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. When do they start flights?
That's really a matter for the airlines as to when they'll be scheduling those flights. However, we do anticipate that from October next year that they'll be ready to commence, and we'll certainly be ready to welcome customers to our airport, passenger airlines, from October.
So, sorry, let's just run through them. Qantas has said when will they start flying?
Well, their exact schedule hasn't been determined as yet, but they have committed to be flying at the back end of 2026, and we believe sometime in October that they will commence
Singapore
operations. Singapore Airlines, similarly, they haven't announced their schedules yet, and that will be up to Singapore.
When will they be announcing the schedules?
That's a matter for the airlines, but we believe certainly at the back end of 2026.
When they'll be announcing the schedules?
Well, they should be announcing in the coming months and commencing flights.
Because usually the schedules are released a year ahead of flights.
It can, up to 12 months in advance, but certainly for domestic, it doesn't need to be 12 months, or for international for that matter, but it's up to the airlines as to when they'll release those schedules.
But I'm wanting to know what commitments they've given you. What have you signed them up to?
We have got signed agreements with them to commence operations at the back end of 2026,
undefined.
Correct.
And Qantas is only committed to domestic flights at end of 26?
At this point in time, that's correct.
So we don't have any airlines that will be flying day one of your opening?
Well, they should be opening. So we will be ready for business come October 26th.
No one's doubting you'll be ready. You're one of the best projects in the country, on time and on budget.
Thank you.
My question is, you'll be open, but will anybody be landing and taking off on day one?
That there will be, yes, we believe that will be the case. I just can't give you a firm commitment on the exact date of that.
Will it be a freight-only start on day one of opening?
We'll be looking to commence freight operations initially from the back end, from July onwards. So we will start operations with our freight operators, and then following that, we will then commence passengers from October onwards.
So how many passenger flights per day in the first month of operations?
We don't have exact amounts yet, and we obviously when we open the airport we'll be able to cater up to 10 million passengers per year. However, we will start with a slow ramp up, obviously to test our operations, and we're going through a rigorous testing phase as we speak right now. And you probably would have seen on the news, our first aircraft landing, our first large aircraft land, but it will be up to the airlines to determine how many flights, but that will gradually increase over time, and by 2032 we look to have approximately 10 million passengers a year flying through.
No, I understand your projections. The whole business case is based on those projections, but here we are under a year out and we don't have any passenger flights per day. We don't know how many will be going. We're starting with freights. Well, how many freight flights per day in the first month?
Again, we don't have defined schedules as yet.
And what's the earliest date you can guarantee an international passenger flight?
It'll be sometime from October. Again, we'll need to determine that once the airlines make that decision.
So what are the airlines asking before they are able to commit to flight schedules? What do they need from you?
What are they asking from us? I think they have everything that they need from us in terms of the operation of the airport. They've all had various meetings with us. Our teams are regularly in contact in terms of the passenger experience and all of the operating requirements of the airport. So we are working very closely with the airlines to make sure they're comfortable to open with us.
I've been out there looking at those transport connections, and some of them were paused and delayed and cut in infrastructure budgets from the federal government over the last 3 years. Isn't transport connections to and from the airport one of the issues that these four airlines are concerned about?
Well, we do have good transport connections. We've got good road access. The M12
Isn't
is
this...
obviously coming
No, I don't need the cell. You can save that for primetime TV. My question is, isn't that one of the issues raised by the airlines, you know, around them signing up to committing to flying? They want more certainty around transport connections. So they haven't raised that with you? Have they raised it with your CEO?
I don't believe it's... not that I'm aware of. They have signed with us.
What about... No, but they've signed with you, but you don't have a start date for them. You've got a promise of some flights sometime in the future. What about your fees? Do they want cheaper fees? That hasn't been raised with you?
I think every airline likes cheaper fees. That's
frenemies, I get it.
Negotiating strategy from the airlines, yeah.
And noise certainty?
Noise certainty for the airlines?
Yep. That hasn't been an issue raised about flight paths?
For the airlines, no. For the community, potentially. But for the airlines, I don't think that is really a concern for the airlines.
So will any passenger flights take off before the metro opens, yes or no?
It is anticipated that we will have flights taking off before the metro does open. I do understand there is some delays. I don't have an exact date on the metro opening. But
have you raised concerns with the government regarding ground transport connectivity, particularly the readiness for rail links, road upgrades and enabling works?
I believe we have, and I might just hand over to my colleague, Matt Martin-Jones, who's our Chief Corporate Officer, who works closely with Transport for New South Wales.
Matt, have you raised concerns about the transport connectivity with the government?
Which government specifically, Senator?
Well, given they're mostly jointly funded, I'd assume both of them.
Yeah, so we've engaged with both the Commonwealth Department and then also Transport for New South Wales about the transport connections, and we've obviously raised the issue of the delay with the metro. We don't have clarity on exact timing for when the metro would be operational, but as you asked previously, we do expect to start commencing the passenger flights and freight and cargo flights before the metro becomes operational.
Right, thank you. I'll have more questions on notice, but thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Now we'll go to our last witnesses, National Transport Commission. G'day, gentlemen. Sorry about the lateness, but you are the last, so we will get straight into it. I'll have a couple of questions at the end. Senator Mackenzie?
Do you have the full complement of board members, NTC?
Yes, Senator.
You do. When is your chair up for reappointment?
Carolyn's appointment is up for renewal on the 1st of January 2026.
Well, that's not very far away. There's not going to be too many cabinet meetings between now and that date to get him approved.
No, my understanding is that this is because this is an NTC appointment that needs to go to ministers.
Yep.
It's currently out. I understand it's currently out to vote, and we're just waiting to hear the final word.
Sorry, I might just interrupt there. Sorry, Senator. Mr. Hopkins, can you just introduce yourself and the gentleman on your right, because we don't have any name tags.
Yes. No, apologies. But Michael Hopkins, Chief Executive of the National Transport Commission.
Aaron De Rosario, Executive Leader, Regulatory Reform and Emerging Technology.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Senator Mackenzie.
So, sorry, so that's an appointment by ITM?
Yes.
Didn't they meet last week?
Yes, they did.
So why wasn't it on the agenda for that?
I couldn't answer that, Senator. My understanding is it went out for vote prior to the meeting.
But no one got back with the vote?
As I said, I think it's been done out of session, so we're just waiting to hear back.
Righto, okay. No worries. Well, I have no further questions.
Great. Senator Cannon?
Just quickly wanted to raise some questions on behalf of the member for Longman, Terry Young. He's asking these on behalf of the Australian Narrow Gauge Railway Museum at Woodford, I believe, in north of Brisbane, Sunshine Coast area. Apparently there's a new standard that's being required that there's a need for a suitably accredited medical professional with appropriate training and with oversight from a chief medical officer for these types of facilities. Are you aware of this standard? And can you explain how you've communicated that to these covered institutions?
Thank you, Senator. Aaron De Rosario. Yes, this is in relation to the health standard for rail safety workers. The health standard was recently updated and a new version was released, which included some additional diagnostic testing for particular, or improved diagnostic testing for particular medical conditions. It also made it more clear that there was a requirement for medical assessments to be undertaken by authorised health practitioners. A range of measures have been put in place to support small and tourism and heritage railways, which includes permitting those assessments to be done by GPs under the supervision of a chief medical officer. A range of tourism and heritage operators have put in place access to a chief medical officer, and those medicals have been done under that appropriate supervision and are being undertaken effectively.
What's a chief medical officer?
It's under the Rail Safety National Law, under that particular mechanism. Railways have chief medical officers who are responsible for medical safety of their various employees, etc. And those chief medical officers provide, a chief medical officer has been appointed to support the tourism and heritage sector to make sure that medical standards are being done consistently and appropriately.
Who employs the chief medical officer?
They're generally employed by railway operators, and in some cases they are volunteers.
So in the case of the Australian Narrow Gauge Railway Museum Society, are they expected to employ a chief medical officer to conduct these tests?
No, as I said, I understand an individual has offered to provide those services as a chief medical officer for them.
For this particular, have you met with this narrow gauge railway? You know this institution.
I have. Yes, I have. I've been out and I've visited their particular facility, and I've had a ride on their trains and discussed their issues with them.
Right.
We're also doing some further work with them to ensure that they're doing appropriate risk assessments under that medical health standard to make sure that their various employees are being categorised correctly and are not being required to do or not being asked to do medical assessments that they don't need to do.
Well, it seems to me they're suggesting to us that they find these new requirements pretty burdensome for them as a small heritage society. I presume, is that what they put to you?
Yes, they have, and we are working with them to address some of the issues, particularly early issues around the availability of the appropriately qualified people to undertake the medical assessments. And as I said, we also want to do some more work with them so that we can ensure that they are completing the risk assessments appropriately and that people aren't being asked to do some of the diagnostic tests. And the most controversial one is sleep studies to determine if a person has sleep apnea. We want to make sure that people aren't being asked to do those tests when their risk profile of their position doesn't warrant that particular assessment being done.
Okay, so you remain open to be flexible with heritage railway societies and the implementation of these standards?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. I presume these standards really do they cover sort of long haul, freight, passenger rail, etc.?
They cover all, they cover all types of railway that are covered under the Rail Safety National Law. Right. It places workers in one of four categories, and depending on the risk associated with them suffering incident or similar, determines what category of worker they fall into, and therefore
like a heritage,
the level of medical they need to do.
A heritage railway, which probably be lucky to going, the rolling stock would be, sometimes the ones I've been on would probably be outpaced by your local scooter kids. I mean, they're probably pretty low risk, right?
Again, that's why we want to do some more work with those particular operators to make sure those assessments are being done right.
That would be appreciated. It seems a little overburdensome for these small societies. Thank you for that. And have you met with Mr. Terry Young then at all when you were up there, the member for Longman?
No, I didn't meet with the member. I met with, I believe it was Terry Olsen, who runs the railway.
Are you okay if I pass your details on to him and see he might reach out for a briefing as well? Okay. Thank you, Chair.
All right, gentlemen, just to wrap it up, thanks very much for your engagement over the years. It's been wonderful. I know I can pick up the phone and you guys are very reactive and I appreciate that. And I know you've just completed the submission into the review of the HVNL Amendment Bill of 2025. And I'll ask you, gentlemen, I'll put the question to you, Mr Hopkins, probably. Have you seen the media release from the Queensland Trucking Association, Victorian Transport Association and Nat Roads? Have you seen that yet?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, right.
Yes, we have, Senator, and we've got we have their submission that arrived on Friday, and we're just going through that at the moment.
Yeah, tremendous. Look, I'm not going to embarrass you or attack you. I wouldn't do that, but I think you should reach out. We need to have a chat. The industry is really not happy. The principle of what you're trying to do, in health and safety, magnificent, but they've got they're really, you've kicked over the hornet's nest, but it can be fixed with a lot more consultation. So can you reach out to me at some stage before the new year?
Can do, Senator, well done.
Yep. Okay, that's it. I don't need to say any more. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, gentlemen. Stay safe. And now that wraps up. That's it. You can go now. Thanks, guys. We'll talk. Don't forget to ring me. Okay.
Anything you have to say?
What have I got to do?
Just close the.
No, I'm just going to say goodbye. I thought you found something. Look, on that, on behalf of the committee, can I sincerely thank our witnesses today, the agencies, the department, Minister, to you and the other ministers. Thank you very much. To Emma, to you and your crew at the Secretariat, thank you so much. On behalf of the committee, Merry Christmas, everyone. And we'll do agriculture tomorrow, and we'll see all the infrastructure people next February. That concludes today's hearing. The committee now stands adjourned. Thank you.